Sumu, do you know how many years you can get for spreading rumors? I do. 3 to 7 years. Then why did you spread lies online? That was a prophecy, not a rumor. Sumu's expression remained calm and unperturbed as he stared at her, as if nothing could make him change color. Slap. The woman angrily slammed the table. You said tonight at 817 a mudslide would hit Shuyun Mountain, causing dozens of casualties. Even more absurdly, you dared to prophesy that in 10 days an alien civilization would invade Earth. The woman was both furious and amused. Such illogical, baseless prophecies were laughed off by netizens. But once the shares reached 500, it met the standard for rumor-mongering. Someone reported it, so they traced it back to Sumu. Originally, this wasn't a big deal. If Sumu would honestly admit his mistake and delete the inappropriate posts, a few days of education would have settled it. But Sumu stubbornly refused to repent, making things difficult for her. 37 minutes left. Sumu lazily lifted his head, stared at the clock on the wall, and his gaze gradually lost focus. 10 days later, an advanced civilization from the stars suddenly appeared, plundering Earth's resources. People formed alliances and fought desperately. After decades of struggle, Earth's population plummeted from over 7 billion to just over 300 million. In the end, human civilization lost. And Sumu in his past life fought against the aliens until he died in a nuclear explosion. Fate favored him. He was reborn back to his youth, vowing to rewrite history. What a lunatic. The woman clenched her fists in anger, stomped her feet, and threatened, "They'll give you one last chance. Delete the online posts and issue a clarification or face the consequences." Ding dong. Future choice system officially activated. Activation complete. Complete any of the following choices to earn corresponding rewards. Choice 1, cooperate and apologize. Choice 2, continue to insist. The system's voice echoed in Sumu's mind, startling him. Reborn and still received a system. Ecstatic, Sumu immediately chose the continue to insist option. No matter what the woman said, he remained unmoved, staring straight at the clock on the wall. Ding dong. Reward received. You have obtained a future arsenal. What is a future arsenal? It can infinitely manufacture future firearms, future mecha, future tech weapons, and more. As the system's voice faded, a vivid image appeared before Sumu's eyes. A dazzling array of colorful guns and mecha, almost exactly like those he had seen in sci-fi movies. These future weapons far surpassed Earth's current technological level, possessing immense power that could even rival advanced civilizations. If mass production were possible, the results would be self-evident. The woman gave up, snorted, and turned to leave. After a moment, 2 strong men entered and took Sumu away. That guy is as stubborn as a rock. We gave him so many chances, but he just wouldn't take them. Exactly. His so-called prophecies are outright fairy tales. Even a movie wouldn't dare to film that. He knows spreading rumors is illegal, yet he still breaks the law. What a madman. His brain must be broken. After taking Sumu away, the crowd talked endlessly, almost treating his story as a joke. Time ticked by, and soon it was 9 o'clock in the evening. Except for a few on duty, everyone else gradually left for home. Everything was peaceful. No one paid any attention to Sumu's 3 prophecies. Until a row of black business cars parked neatly at the entrance. From the middle car descended a middle-aged man. He was portly with sharp eyes and wearing glasses. From the other cars, more than 20 well-trained bodyguards emerged. They stood with hands clasped in front, imposing and alert beside the vehicles. The atmosphere instantly froze. Su-Chi from the security department. I'm here to take Sumu back for questioning. Su-Chi entered, found the person in charge, flashed his badge, and stated his purpose succinctly. Xiaomin, Sumu was your case. Come handle the handover. Sir, has something happened? The woman called Xiaomin approached, looking bewildered. After reading Su-Kai's credentials, she was struck as if by a thunderbolt, utterly shocked. Wasn't this just a minor case of online rumor-mongering? The evidence was solid and the suspect refused to repent. How had it alarmed such a major figure? Su-Chi asked, where is Sumu? On his way to Yunqing. When did that happen? Half an hour ago. Notify Yunqing to protect Sumu. Su-Chi ordered his subordinates, and Xiaomin asked curiously, Sir, may I be curious? Did Sumu commit some other offense? No, then why are you? His prophecy was verified. At 817. Right on the dot. With that, Su-Chi and his men rushed to Yunqing. Only Xiaomin and the others were left standing in the wind, utterly baffled. She had carefully checked Sumu's personal file, a Yunqing native with no record of traveling abroad. How then did he know about the mudslide in Zhao country? Was he not a madman? Could he truly foresee the future? Thinking this, the group felt as if struck by lightning, eyes wide and jaws nearly dropping. Gulp. Everyone swallowed hard. If Sumu's prophecies could all come true, then 10 days later, alien invasion of Earth. Meanwhile in Yunqing, just as Sumu was about to be locked up, Su-Kai's team burst in. Security department business. Su-Chi flashed his badge, and his men immediately formed a circle to protect Sumu. Finally here, Sumu's lips curled into a knowing smile. The prophecy had come true. Such a big incident wouldn't go unnoticed by the relevant authorities. Moreover, facing an advanced civilization's invasion, even with the system Su Mu alone could not resist, he needed to rely on these forces to survive the calamity together. Are you Su Mu? I am. Emma, my name is Su Chi from the security department. Would like you to come with us for an investigation. Su Chi was a straightforward man speaking directly. Those around him remained silent, staring intently at Su Mu. Choice 1, I cooperate with the investigation. Choice 2, refuse to cooperate. Alright. Su Mu's original goal was to attract attention through his prophecy. Without hesitation, he chose to cooperate with the investigation. Ding. Reward received. 10 small nuclear reactors acquired. Immediately after a visual appeared before Su Mu. The small nuclear reactor was only the size of an adult's palm, its shell made of some unknown metal with a blue light glowing inside. Just looking at the image conveyed the surging powerful energy within. Where are my rewards? Why can't I see them? Auto-stored in the system dimensional space. Oh. Su Mu nodded in sudden understanding. Closing his eyes, he carefully sensed a vast space appearing in his mind, nearly limitless in size. The 10 small nuclear reactors and the future arsenal were all stored there. Soon Su Mu followed Su Chi out of Yunqing prison and took a car to the airport. As it was a covert operation, Su Chi ordered the police and prison staff to keep silent about today's events. After arriving at the airport, the two boarded a private jet. Su Chi took out a pen and paper from his briefcase, wrote down a few lines, then asked, "From now on I ask the questions, and you answer." "No need to ask. I know you just want to confirm my identity." Su Chi nodded slightly. Foreseeing the future, such a huge thing, he couldn't rashly confirm Su Mu's identity based on just one incident. Buzz. Su Mu opened the system dimensional space with his mind and took out a small nuclear reactor. This scene appeared to Su Chi as if it materialized out of thin air. More magical than a magic trick. What is this? A small nuclear reactor. Are you joking? With Earth's current technology, no country in the world could build such a small reactor. Su Chi was astounded. He took the reactor from Su Mu's hand. It was very heavy. Visible energy flowing inside. "Director Su. He'll come clean. I am actually from the future. This small nuclear reactor is my gift to the motherland." Su Mu carefully watched Su Kai's expression. Though shocked deep in his eyes, there was still a hint of doubt. "I need to verify the authenticity of this small nuclear reactor first," Su Chi said solemnly. Once this thing was proven real, it would basically confirm that Su Mu indeed came from the future. Of course. Su Mu nodded slightly. "Set off. To Shizhou," Su Chi commanded. The private jet soon took off, heading for Qin State Shizhou. That was the most barren region of Qin State. Over 60% desert, desolate, and uninhabited. Because of this, Shizhou had become the largest military base of Qin. Many high-tech weapon experiments were conducted secretly in Shizhou. Before disembarking, Su Chi asked emphatically, "Su Mu, we're about to enter the military base. You know the consequences of deceiving me, right?" "I know." Su Mu nodded slightly. Soon the two got off the plane and boarded a military off-road vehicle. After driving about half an hour, the previously calm desert began to tremble slightly. Su Mu remained unruffled because decades later the Shizhou military base would become Qin State's largest refuge. The current tremor was caused by the opening of the underground entrance. Creak. As the tremors subsided, a pitch-black steel passage appeared in the desert. "Welcome to the Shizhou military base." The soldier driving floored the gas pedal. The off-road vehicle's engine roared as it plunged into the passage. "Never seen anything like this, have you? This is our Qin State's largest military base," Su Chi boasted. Even as the director of national security, he was always awed by the sights at the Shizhou base. He was proud to be a citizen of Qin, proud of its strength. The underground base's architecture exuded a futuristic design. Blue arrows on the floor guided Su Chi and his team deeper inside. Computer displays were projected onto desktops and arms, abandoning solid hardware operable anywhere. Everyone was busy with their own tasks, paying no attention to Su Kai's group. "Time is short. Let's test the small nuclear reactor quickly." Su Mu shrugged, not as awed as Su Chi had imagined. On the contrary, he was quite indifferent. In this era, human civilization had only just mastered nuclear reactors capable only of building nuclear warheads or satellites and landing on Mars or the Moon. But advanced civilizations already used small nuclear reactors as batteries capable of interstellar travel. They were not on the same level. "All right." Su Chi nodded, and after wandering through the base, finally found an old man in a white shirt. The man was nearly 80 years old. He wore thick-rimmed glasses, his face deeply lined with age, most of his teeth missing. "Professor Li, I've come to see you again. There's something I'd like you to examine." "Little Su, take a look at this." Su Chi handed the small nuclear reactor to Li Jianming. Su Mu stood with hands behind his back, gazing directly at Li Jianming, filled with admiration. Li Jianming was truly the backbone of Qin. Becoming a professor at 34, returning to his country at 50, and dedicating himself to academic research, he took only 3 years to build a hydrogen bomb. Then leading his team, he spent 5 years creating an atomic bomb, and another 5 years building the world's first deep-sea nuclear power station. In short, the technological challenges he led his team to overcome were too numerous to mention. It was precisely because of him that Qin's technological level reached the forefront of the world. This is a nuclear reactor. Li Jiaming was astounded and immediately pressed. Where did you get it? He gave it to me. Su Qi pointed at Su Mu. Professor Li, hello. Su Mu greeted politely. Li Jiaming frowned, looking Su Mu up and down with suspicion. Professor Li, his name is Su Mu. He claims to be from the future. He correctly predicted the explosion at the Handan port in Zhao State, and gave me this small nuclear reactor. Su Qi explained quietly. Future. Li Jiaming frowned even more. Based on his lifelong knowledge, time and space travel might indeed be possible when various technologies reach a certain level. Professor Li, time is short. I know you've developed a high-energy particle cannon. Using this small nuclear reactor as its power source would be perfect. You know about the high-energy particle cannon? Li Jiaming's eyes widened in disbelief. That was a top military secret. Even Su Qi didn't know about it. Yes. In the coming decades, we would modify that cannon as a major weapon against advanced civilizations. Li Jiaming fell silent now, beginning to believe Su Mu was from the future. The three of them entered an elevator. Ding. A few minutes later, the elevator descended more than 30 levels. With the help of the team, Li Jiaming and the others spent over 5 hours modifying the high-energy particle cannon's power unit, installing the small nuclear reactor. Finally, everything was ready. Activate. Li Jiaming commanded. The team members tacitly returned to their respective posts, commencing the inspection of the high-energy particle cannon's performance and various parameters. Power check complete. Launch mechanism check complete. Turret frame check complete. One by one, the indicators lit up green, confirming that the high-energy particle cannon was functioning properly. Fire. With trembling hands, Li Jiaming pressed the launch button. In milliseconds, the high-energy particle cannon concealed beneath the desert unleashed a crimson beam that surged straight toward the heavens. Unlike other weapons, the high-energy particle cannon was a laser weapon. The intensity of its energy determined the magnitude of its destructive power. Boom. The crimson beam possessed ultra-high temperatures, evaporating even the surrounding air. In an instant, it tore through the clouds. A mere fraction of the terrifying energy ripple that escaped swept away all clouds within a radius of hundreds of miles. It's breached the atmosphere. Altitude has reached 15,000 meters, and it's far from over. How can such a small nuclear reactor provide such immense energy? It's utterly incredible. The laboratory staff were filled with awe. Su Mu spoke softly, it's time to stop, or we might end up shooting down a satellite. Li Jiaming suddenly realized the gravity of the situation. Quick! Shut down all programs. The team, understanding the severity, immediately cooperated to deactivate the high-energy particle cannon. Gradually, the crimson beam that had pierced the sky dissipated into nothingness at a visible rate. The sky was clear and serene, as if nothing had ever happened. Mr. Su, I believe you come from the future. So do I. We all believe. Su Qi, Li Jiaming, and the others cast stunned gazes at Su Mu. Li Jiaming hesitated, then said, Mr. Su, this nuclear reactor holds immense research significance. Could we? The war is imminent. There's no time for slow research. Besides, I have 9 more of these reactors. Su Mu waved his hand, opened the system's dimensional space, and retrieved the remaining 9 nuclear reactors. A total of 10 small nuclear reactors. Li Jiaming was astounded. Only those truly knowledgeable understood what this meant. In simple terms, if the military could fully utilize these 10 small nuclear reactors, their technological combat effectiveness would instantly increase by 1,000%. Director Su, you understand what needs to be done next, don't you? Su Mu turned to look at Su Qi. Yes. Su Qi nodded solemnly. Since everything was true, then in 10 days an alien civilization would indeed invade Earth. Mr. Su, I will immediately report this to the higher authorities. Su Qi truly grasped the severity of the matter. After leaving the Shizhou military base, he personally went to meet the King of Qin. Meanwhile, Su Mu assisted Li Jiaming in expediting the construction of more high-energy particle cannons. 10 hours later, in a private bedroom at the Shizhou military base, Li Jiaming projected a video conference into Su Mu's room. Instantly, 9 images appeared on the glass wall, each containing a figure. They were the King of Qin and the 8 cabinet elders. They represented the supreme authority of the Qin kingdom. Any decision they made could determine the future direction of the nation. Yet at this moment, all 9 of them wore grave and worried expressions. Director Su should have already introduced me to you all, and since I come from the future, I am no stranger to you either. The alien invasion is imminent, so let's get straight to the point. Facing the 9 great figures, Su Mu showed no signs of intimidation. Mr. Su, will an alien civilization truly invade Earth in 10 days? The King of Qin asked solemnly. Su Mu glanced at the time and nodded heavily. To be precise, there are only 9 days and 6 hours left. When the alien mothership arrives above Earth, it won't attack immediately. Instead, it will release a viscous, slime-like creature. These slime-like creatures are immune to any physical attack. Once they attach to a human or animal, they immediately take over their bodies and launch attacks against humans. Thump. Hearing this, the king and the 8 cabinet elders felt their hearts sink to the depths. Does that mean the Qin army's guns and artillery are all useless? At this point, I'm not afraid to say something discouraging in the face of an advanced civilization. Humanity's guns and artillery are no more than toys. The first skirmish between the multinational alliance and the alien civilization cost nearly half of Earth's population. Therefore, the most urgent task now is to manufacture laser weapons, which require vast quantities of rare metals. Su Mu's memory was vivid. When the alien civilization first invaded, the multinational alliance dispatched thousands of fighter jets armed with various missiles, yet none could breach the pure energy shield of the alien mothership. The only weapons that could inflict damage were hydrogen bombs and nuclear bombs. It was only after repeated engagements with the alien civilization, when the multinational alliance obtained numerous precious samples, that they gradually developed new technological weapons. Even so, human civilization was doomed to extinction. Then, what should we do? The king and the 8 cabinet elders all furrowed their brows deeply. The alien invasion weighed on their shoulders like a mountain, suffocating them. The ineffectiveness of human weapons was the final straw that broke the camel's back. The war had not even begun, yet their resolve to fight to the death was already shattered. It's not time to despair. Su Mu explained, I carry with me a future arsenal. The laser weapons it produces are exactly what can counter the alien creatures. An arsenal you carry with you. The king and the others were astounded, looking at Su Mu as if he were a deity, their gazes filled with reverence. A future arsenal. Naturally, it was unparalleled. Mr. Su, tell us what we should do. The operation of the future arsenal consumes vast amounts of resources, especially rare metals. So from this moment on, cease all exports of metal resources and import them from abroad at any cost. Dispatch 2 elite divisions to be stationed at Shizhou. I will transform them into a mecha unit within 10. Su Mu listed only 2 points. The remaining contents of the plan were transmitted in real time to the king and the 8 cabinet elders via Li Jiaming's phone. An hour later, everyone had finished reading Su Mu's plan. A 9-page plan wouldn't normally take an hour, but the content within was simply too shocking. So shocking that they couldn't believe it, doubting their own eyes. Mr. Su, are you serious? This plan will drain the 40-plus years of the Qin Kingdom's accumulated reserves. If it fails, the Qin Kingdom will never recover. Forming a multinational alliance, sharing information technology and talent. Even if we agree, other countries won't. This is madness. I still find it hard to believe. This plan is essentially gambling with the Qin Kingdom's centuries of national fortune. Faced with an invasion by an advanced civilization, we have no choice but to stake everything. I support Mr. Su's plan. For the future of the Qin Kingdom. For the survival of humanity. We have no alternative. Mr. Su, I also support you. This is a fateful gamble. If we win, we will achieve a leapfrog and become the world's strongest nation. The 8 cabinet elders argued back and forth, each holding a different opinion. Su Mu looked at them calmly, having anticipated this situation. The contents of the plan were too extraordinary, only those with great boldness would dare to act on it. But the king of Qin had never been a coward or a weakling. I second Mr. Su's plan. Finally, the monarch of the Qin Kingdom made the final decision. His piercing gaze fixed directly on Su Mu before the camera, his voice resounding with conviction. Mr. Su, from this moment on, the peril of Qin and the safety of its people rest entirely upon your shoulders. As the sovereign of Qin, I formally invite you to assume the role of regent mentor, enjoying the same privileges as us, and wielding authority no less than my own. Do you accept? The 8 cabinet elders were profoundly startled. The position of regent mentor was an ancient office abolished by a former monarch 300 years ago. His revival of this title now showed the immense value he placed on Su Mu. Choice 1, accept. Choice 2, refuse. Su Mu nodded and chose to accept. Thank you for your trust, Your Majesty. I shall not fail your trust. Ding. Reward credited. Received Super Serum X 1000. What is the Super Serum used for? Defense surpasses human limits. Movement speed surpasses human limits. Self-healing surpasses strength surpasses human limits. The images of Captain America and the Winter Soldier instinctively flashed through Su Mu's mind. Was this not a classic example of using the Super Soldier Serum? As the summit concluded, the Qin Kingdom began intense preparations to prevent panic and chaos among the citizens of Qin. Su Mu had the monarch dispatch garrison troops from various regions to patrol the streets and maintain order. But this war was not Qin's war alone, it was a clash between human civilization and an advanced one. Following the blueprint in Su Mu's plan, the Qin monarch invited other nations to jointly discuss how to confront the invasion of the advanced civilization 9 days hence. Professor Li Have Tangshan, the head of the Western Continent military base, come see me, Su Mu said. All right, Li Jiaming replied over the phone. Tang Shan, head of the Western Continent military base. Over 50 years old with dark skin, a burly build, and a fiery temper. But decades later, he would be one of the primary leaders in the fight against alien civilizations. Before long, Tang Shan appeared before Su Mu in full military uniform. You're Su Mu? What do you want? Compared to Su Qi, Li Jiaming, the monarch, and the 8 elders, Tang Shan did not hold much respect or liking for him. This was the Western Continent military base. He was the one in charge. Why should he listen to a young man? Why should the monarch and the 8 elders all be at the beck and call of a youth? Brother Tang, Su Mu called out a habit from his past life. There are 2 things I need your help with. Speak. Dislike aside, Su Mu was now the regent mentor, and Tang Shan had to obey. First, I need 999 of your finest soldiers. Second, I need a vacant lot to build a future arsenal. Su Mu explained calmly. Follow me. Tang Shan replied tersely, immediately making the arrangements. The 2 left the underground military base, got into an off-road vehicle, and headed straight for the desert 20 kilometers away. From a distance, a group of figures stood like sentinels amidst the yellow sand. No matter how fierce the sandstorm or the interference of snakes and insects, they did not budge an inch. Brother Tang, these are truly soldiers trained by you. Save the flattery. Tell me, what are you planning? I want to turn them into super soldiers. Seeing the doubt in Tang Shan's eyes, Su Mu immediately produced a vial of super serum. The serum was blue, contained in a syringe about 10 milliliters. You expect this to work? Yes. Without hesitation, Su Mu plunged the syringe into the vein of his own arm. The blue serum entered his body drop by drop, quickly merging with his blood and spreading throughout. Crackle, crackle. In an instant, Su Mu felt every bone in his body undergoing a second growth, emitting grinding sounds of collision and friction. His once frail physique now became angular and defined, his muscle lines distinct, his entire being brimming with explosive power. His 5 senses became incredibly sharp. Su Mu could clearly feel his own power surging, the process painless, even somewhat pleasurable. You? This? Tang Shan was utterly stunned. Minutes ago, Su Mu was a slender youth. After using the super serum, he had transformed into a powerful man. His bearing and image drastically changed. Brother Tang, let's see the effects of the super serum. A strange upward curve touched Su Mu's lips. Su Mu reached out, grabbed the front bumper of the off-road vehicle, exerted all his strength, and lifted the vehicle clean off the ground. Tang Shan was still inside, watching the scene unfold, his mind reeling as if in a dream. This military off-road vehicle weighed a full 8 tons. Even with superhuman strength at birth, as long as one was human, such a weight was impossible to lift. Not just Tang Shan, but the over 900 soldiers in the distance were also astounded. Brother Tang, the super serum enhances far more than just strength. Su Mu set down the vehicle and sprinted forward, circling around all the soldiers. His figure seemed to merge with the wind and sand. They only felt a gust of wind pass, and Su Mu was back where he started. It seems the super serum is even more potent than I imagined, Su Mu murmured. The serum directly modified human genes, essentially creating enhanced biohumans. Subsequently, Su Mu publicly demonstrated several other abilities granted by the super serum. Tang Shan shed his contempt for Su Mu, his eyes burning with intensity as he fixed them on him. Mr. Su, how many more vials of this super serum do you have? Su Mu replied, 999 remain. You have so much of this precious serum. Tang Shan's eyes widened in disbelief, then he looked at the soldiers. Each one of them had been with Tang Shan for years, handpicked soldiers, the elite of the elite. No one in the Western Continent military base could match their excellence or loyalty. The thought of transforming them all into super soldiers was enough to make one's blood boil. All right, can they use Of course. At Tang Shan's command, all the soldiers lined up to receive their super serum from Su Mu, mimicking his earlier actions by injecting it into the veins of their arms. Whoosh. In the desert, swirling yellow sand nearly obscured their figures, cloaking them in mystery. The fierce wind howled as if celebrating the birth of the super soldiers. Mr. Su, now that they have been enhanced, they are no longer ordinary warriors. Please bestow a new name upon this unit. Then, let them be called the Dragon Group. The Dragon Group. An excellent name. Tang Shan stroked his chin, savoring the name thoughtfully. Su Mu smiled and looked at the soldiers before him. You are all super warriors enhanced by the serum. What do you feel? My body is brimming with power. Without exaggeration, I could kill an ox with a single punch. Before, a 10-kilometer weighted cross-country run would leave me exhausted like a dog, but now I feel like running 100 kilometers would be no problem. Besides strength, speed, defense, and self-healing, my 5 senses have also been greatly enhanced. Mr. Su, I am now 100% certain that you must come from the future. Yes, otherwise how could you possess so many treasures that surpass modern technology? We all believe that with your help the Qin kingdom can surely weather this crisis. Many soldiers voiced their admiration. Many among them, like Tang Shan, had initially not trusted Su Mu. It was only now that they truly witnessed Su Mu's power. It was also Su Mu who had made them this powerful. Respect. Genuine respect. Su Mu's status in their hearts was now no less than Tang Shan's. Mr. Su, the second thing you mentioned. Do you want me to find a piece of open land for you to build a munitions factory? Tang Shan shifted the topic and asked. Su Mu nodded slightly. How much space do you need? 100 to 150,000 square meters. That large? Then it can only be built in the desert. Tang Shan clicked his tongue in amazement. He had originally planned to allocate a space for Su Mu in the Western Continent underground military base, but the entire base covered only about 300,000 square meters. But we must pick a good location. The desert beneath our feet is ideal. No quicksand, centrally located with an entrance to the underground military base just 2 kilometers ahead, making supply transport convenient. Most importantly, it's close to the radar, which can block satellite surveillance. Fine. Let it be here. Su Mu nodded slightly. I must trouble you with one more thing. Notify Professor Li to lead all the technology teams directly into the future munitions factory. Did I hear that correctly? Directly enter the future munitions factory. Tang Shan's eyes widened. Before him was nothing but barren land. Everyone stepped back. Su Mu shouted to the group of soldiers. Once everyone had retreated with a wave of his hand, he opened the system's dimensional space. Rumble. A future munitions factory spanning over 100,000 square meters materialized out of thin air in the desert. The factory's exterior was covered in a blue crystalline substance, with streams of light flowing within, exuding a sense of advanced technology and mystery. Hundreds of meters high, covering over 100,000 square meters. Tang Shan and the others had never seen such a colossal structure, especially one that appeared out of nowhere. Gulp. Tang Shan swallowed hard, vowing never to doubt Su Mu's words again, submitting to him with heartfelt admiration. The Dragon Team members too were dumbfounded, pinching their arms vigorously. Only when the pain made them wince did they dare confirm it was all real. Is this future technology? No, this is already a miracle, someone in the crowd exclaimed. Before long, Li Jiaming led a large group of core scientific personnel toward the future munitions factory. When they saw the factory's exterior, their expressions mirrored Tang Shan's. Is this photonic graphite crystal panel? Li Jiaming trembled with excitement, caressing it carefully, afraid of damaging it. Professor Li, what is a photonic graphite crystal panel? Tang Shan asked curiously. In layman's terms, it's a nano-synthesized crystalline substance that can fully absorb light energy, wind energy, water energy, and any other kinetic energy generating high-tech, and it can evade all current surveillance methods. Unlike ordinary solar panels, its kinetic energy utilization efficiency can reach 80%. Unfortunately, the cost is exorbitant. A fingernail-sized piece of photonic graphite crystal panel costs hundreds of millions. Professor Li, are you sure? Then how much would a factory this large cost? Tang Shan marveled. Even if the entire Qin kingdom's treasury were emptied, or even all nations combined, they probably couldn't build such a scale. Su Mu clapped his hands in agreement. Professor Li is right. Because of these photonic graphite crystal panels, the factory's operation requires virtually no other energy. Everyone follow me inside and take a good look at the future munitions factory. Su Mu led the way, with the rest following closely behind. The interior of the factory was vast, with only 4 colors: red, blue, green, and black. Transport tracks ran along both the floor and the ceiling. Various large laboratories and workstations dazzled Tang Shan, Li Jiaming, and the others. All production lines and workstations were intelligently operated. In short, even those unfamiliar with everything here could quickly master it through the intelligence system. Hello, I am the AI Shaoan. Suddenly, a beam of light projected before the crowd. Gradually, it took the shape of a little boy. Give us an introduction to this factory, Su Mu instructed. Shaoan nodded at Su Mu, then snapped his fingers, conjuring a massive image in the void. The factory is divided into 3 sections: weapons, mecha, and spacecraft. As Shaoan explained, the image shifted, giving Su Mu and the others a straightforward understanding of the factory. Within the images were various high-tech weapons, suits of armor resembling Iron Man, giant mecha hundreds of meters tall, requiring multiple operators, and futuristic spacecraft that seemed straight out of a movie. Each image struck Li Jiaming and the others like a thunderbolt. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Shaoan continued, weapons and mecha are divided into Class 1 and Class 2. Class 1 requires higher-grade materials, but offers superior performance and longer production cycles. Class 2 is slightly inferior, but can be mass-produced. Tang Shan asked abruptly, what's the substantive difference between the two? Simply put, Class 1 weapons are as powerful as nuclear strikes, while Class 1 mecha can withstand any attack below nuclear level. Class 2 is less capable, barely able to withstand ordinary missile strikes. Gulp. Tang Shan and Li Jiaming stared wide-eyed, as if they had seen a ghost. Fortunately, they had witnessed Su Mu's abilities earlier, otherwise if someone else stood here and made such claim, they would unhesitatingly have the speaker committed to a mental institution. Nuclear energy is the most powerful offensive means in modern technology. If they could truly create a force capable of withstanding nuclear energy, even just 100 men, they would be invincible on the battlefield. Su Mu glanced at the list of heavy metals, rare metals, and various resources soon arriving in Western continent, then uploaded the data to the AI. Showing with maximum resource utilization how much equipment can be produced. Analyzing data. Analysis complete. Xiao ANS backend was a supercomputer capable of billions of calculations per millisecond. Lacking rare metals cannot produce Class 1 weapons or Class 1 mecha. Approximately 1,000 sets of Class 2 weapons and Class 2 mecha can be made insufficient for spacecraft production. Su Mu had long anticipated such a situation. Manufacturing a single set of equipment required the consumption of vast quantities of rare metals. With current technological means, only 1 gram of rare metal could be extracted from a ton of ore. How long would it take to manufacture 1,000 sets? 5 days. Such high efficiency. Everyone was astonished, completely overturning their understanding of known science. Yet Su Mu took it in stride. In the future, advanced civilizations had highly mature assembly lines for manufacturing weapons and mechs akin to how human civilization produced automobile tires. Just then a communications soldier rushed in and reporting, the first batch of resources has arrived in Shizhou. The second batch, the third batch, the fourth batch, they are being transported via sea, land, and air routes, and will arrive in Shizhou by tomorrow at the latest. Su Mu couldn't help but exclaim, excellent. After 10 days, perhaps a true mecha unit could truly be forged. The Qin Kingdom spanned 9,600,000 square hectares, vast in territory and abundant in resources. At this moment, heavy metals, rare metals, and various scarce resources from all over the country were continuously being transported to Shizhou without cease. Coupled with the garrison troops maintaining order in various regions, a series of diplomatic measures by the Qin Kingdom, and an emergency global summit. All these events indicated one thing: the Qin Kingdom was about to make a major move. Major media outlets, both domestic and international, provided comprehensive coverage of this matter, not lacking in conspiracy theories. The Qin Kingdom's sovereign convened an emergency global summit overnight, suspectedly preparing for an invasion by an advanced civilization. According to an insider source, the Qin Kingdom is continuously transporting various resources to Shizhou, suspectedly preparing for war. Are the Qin Kingdom's consecutive strange behaviors truly just to counter an invasion by an advanced civilization? According to data from multiple countries' satellite departments, no anomalies have been detected in outer space, indicating the Qin Kingdom's intentions are impure. Multiple national leaders have stated that the probability of an alien civilization invasion is merely 0.000000001%, thus refusing to participate in the emergency global summit. The sovereign of Zhao Kingdom declared that they would use existing technological means to resolutely respond to any military provocation from the Qin Kingdom. Under such circumstances, no other nation believed in the Qin Kingdom's so-called theory of an advanced civilization invasion. They were more inclined to believe that the Qin Kingdom was preparing for a war of aggression. Mr. Su, have you seen the recent news? I have. I anticipated encountering some obstacles. What should we do now? How can we rely solely on the Qin Kingdom's strength to repel the invasion of an advanced civilization? Perhaps you could personally appear and explain this matter to the whole world. Choice 1, appear and explain. Choice 2, conceal your identity. Su Mu pondered for a moment, then shook his head and chose the second option. The Qin Kingdom does not yet possess the military strength to intimidate the globe. Exposing my identity prematurely might very well incite their covetousness. Ding. Reward credited. Obtained deep-sea mining vessel X-100. Everyone nodded in agreement. Whether it was the small nuclear reactor, the super serum, or the future arsenal, any of these could drive the nations of the world into a frenzy. Without a clear threat from an alien civilization, they would inevitably stop at nothing to obtain Su Mu. If they couldn't have him, they would surely choose to assassinate Su Mu. What do we do then? The whole world misunderstands us. They think we're about to start a world war. Since it's a misunderstanding, it can be resolved in time. The top priority is to acquire more resources. To advance technology. Mr. Su, multiple nations have formed an alliance to oppose Qin. No matter how much we spend, we can't buy a single bit of resources anymore. Everyone was as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Land resources have been mined for nearly a millennium, with less than 40% of reserves remaining. But over 97% of marine resources remain unexploited. Su Mu stated. Everyone shook their heads. Mr. Su, extracting marine resources is extremely difficult. With current technology, large-scale exploitation is hardly feasible. You're right, but I have 100 deep-sea mining vessels capable of operating tens of thousands of meters below the ocean surface. A smile curled at the corner of Su Mu's mouth. This system seemed to understand his thoughts. Whenever he was in dire need of something, the system would grant him the corresponding reward. Simultaneously, Su Mu also grasped a certain truth. Beyond the dark forest law, there was another crucial reason for the collision between different civilizations. The development of technology requires the consumption of vast resources. And all resources on Earth are non-renewable. As time progresses, all resources will inevitably be depleted. Losing resources leads to only two outcomes: either technology stagnates, or civilization regresses, even to the point of destruction. Hence, advanced civilizations invade other planets to plunder more resources. The sovereign asked incredulously, "Mr. Su, just how many surprises have you brought back from the future?" The 8 cabinet elders added, "You are truly the savior of the Qin kingdom." "No, the savior of all humanity." The head of the Foreign Affairs Department said, "Are there really 100 deep-sea mining vessels?" "Mr. Su, you always manage to do things beyond imagination." The head of the Finance Department remarked, "Deep-sea mining vessels capable of reaching tens of thousands of meters underwater. Once this news breaks, the whole world will go wild." The head of the Military Department declared, "Mr. Su, I will command the Navy immediately and deploy the aircraft carrier to escort you." Su Mu gave a slight nod and handed over the future arsenal to Li Jiaming and Tang Shan. He then took a special plane and rushed overnight from Shizhou to the Huanghai Naval Base. That was where the Qin Kingdom's sole aircraft carrier was stationed, which had recently been fitted with a small nuclear reactor. From the moment of Su Mu's rebirth until his arrival at the Huanghai Naval Base, he had gone 3 days without sleep. An ordinary person would have long since collapsed from exhaustion. After using the super serum, he could barely manage, but it was still grueling. Only on the plane could he get a brief rest. As Su Mu disembarked from the plane, he saw a long convoy of vehicles parked in the distance. All the soldiers in naval uniforms stood at attention, gazing at Su Mu and rendering a standard military salute, an imposing scene. "Greetings, Imperial Tutor Mr. Su. I am Lu Bo, head of the Huanghai Naval Base, ordered to welcome you." Lu Bo was similar in build and age to Tang Shan. Su Mu had few memories of him because during the alien civilization's invasion of Earth, Lu Bo had died in the very first battle. But without a doubt, Lu Bo was a hero. "Mr. Su, if you don't mind, just call me Brother Lu." Lu Bo chuckled, not as stern as Tang Shan. "Brother Lu, let's dispense with these formalities. Time is of the essence. Launch the carrier immediately and head for the Pacific Ocean. The leadership specifically instructed me. Knowing you're a man of action, I made all the arrangements in advance, just waiting for you." "Good. Let's set sail." Su Mu waved his hand grandly and boarded the ship with Lu Bo, then stepped onto the aircraft carrier, the Yellow Dragon. It was 330 meters long, 107 meters wide, and carried 70 carrier-based aircraft. It was equipped with 10 anti-aircraft guns, 10 heavy machine guns, 100 small gun turrets, and internally, it was armed with 3 nuclear-tipped missiles. Fully armed, it was the second largest aircraft carrier in the world. The Yellow Dragon initially used conventional energy, but was later converted to nuclear power. It made the nation the second in the world to use a nuclear-powered carrier, but due to immature nuclear power technology, its energy utilization efficiency was only 47%. Until a few hours ago, the Yellow Dragon had been fitted with 2 small nuclear reactors. A conventionally powered carrier travels at a speed of 25 knots per hour. A nuclear-powered carrier travels at 30 knots per hour. But after being equipped with the 2 small nuclear reactors, the Yellow Dragon's speed surged to 80 knots. More than double the speed equivalent to over 100 kilometers per hour, rivaling a high-speed train. On the sea, it was an invincible presence. Besides the Yellow Dragon, there were 30 escort frigates, a mighty fleet sailing towards the deep sea. 5 hours later, the Yellow Dragon arrived in the Pacific Ocean. Su Mu opened the system's dimensional space as usual. Boom, boom, boom. One after another, deep-sea mining vessels appeared on the ocean surface, as if by magic. A full 100 vessels arranged in perfect order, a truly spectacular sight. Lu Bo had long heard the leadership recount Su Mu's deeds, but witnessing it with his own eyes still stirred his emotions. It wasn't just him, everyone aboard the Yellow Dragon was inexplicably excited. The Qin Kingdom, the Qin people, the Qin might. Everyone felt immense pride in the strength of the Qin Kingdom. On the Yellow Dragon, every gaze directed at Su Mu was filled with fervent adoration, because all the earth-shattering changes the Qin Kingdom had undergone in just a few short days were thanks to Su Mu. "Begin operations." Su Mu waved his hand, and the 100 colossal deep-sea mining vessels submerged into the ocean depths. Each vessel had a storage capacity of 100 tons, fully automated with intelligent recognition and unmanned operation. Su Mu and the others only needed to wait quietly aboard the Yellow Dragon to receive the results. The exploitation of marine resources has always been a formidable challenge. So far, humanity has only managed to build drilling platforms on the sea surface to extract oil, and even that offers meager cost-effectiveness. In short, the obstacles were immense. Lu Bo had initially resigned himself to a long wait. He believed that even with future technology, extracting precious metals from the deep sea would be no easy feat. Yet a mere half-hour later, a smile crept across Su Mu's face. "All right, the first wave of resource extraction is complete." "Impossible!" Lu Bo exclaimed, dumbfounded. "Only 30 minutes have passed." Su Mu simply smiled, offering no reply. Then, as Lu Bo and the assembled naval forces watched in utter astonishment, 100 deep-sea mining vessels surfaced, in perfect unison like a meticulously drilled army. "Is it truly this fast?" Lu Bo was astounded. "Without this efficiency, how could we ever break the resource blockade imposed on our Qin state by other nations?" "Come and see for yourself," Su Mu said with confidence. "There's a surprise." The crowd surged forward, eager to uncover what Su Mu had in store. Zhao Shu, the resource extraction expert accompanying them, fell into deep thought. Zhao Shu was a leading authority on resource extraction in Qin state. It was he who had discovered the 100 millionth coal mine the previous year. Today he had received orders from above to oversee marine resource extraction, collaborating with the Navy on this mission. Initially, Zhao Shu had scoffed at this assignment. As an expert, he knew all too well the immense difficulty of extracting marine resources. With current human technology, deep-sea resource extraction was utterly impossible. When he first met Su Mu, his skepticism only deepened. Su Mu was too young, a mere greenhorn lacking experience. It was only when Su Mu waved his hand and deployed 100 deep-sea mining vessels that Zhao Shu realized this visitor from the future was anything but ordinary. Now, as the deep-sea mining vessels surfaced, Zhao Shu was the first to rush forward, eager to inspect the results, but the vessel's hatches were sealed tight. Zhao Shu scratched his head in frustration, utterly at a loss, and could only turn a pleading gaze towards Su Mu. "Open the hatches," Su Mu commanded. The hatches of all the deep-sea mining vessels swung open simultaneously. The sight left everyone utterly stunned. Their shock was beyond words. For the storage compartments did not contain the expected raw ore, but block after block of precious metals cut and refined with perfect precision, gleaming like massive gold bars. "Holy crap! Is this directly mined metal?" "It's already refined metal straight out of the ground. No smelting or extraction needed." "This is incredible. So efficient. We don't even need to build metal plants. We can just extract the metal and use it directly." Everyone's jaws dropped. The less educated among them could only spout expletives in awe. Even if they weren't technical experts, they could see that these deep-sea mining vessels were terrifyingly advanced. Direct extraction of finished metal. What kind of technology is this? Zhao Shu gasped, his eyes burning with intensity as he fixed his gaze on Su Mu. "And this is I forgot to introduce him. This is Professor Zhao Shu, our Qin state expert on resource extraction," Lu Bo said. Su Mu nodded. "So you're Professor Zhao Shu. The deep-sea mining vessels utilize micro-nano extraction technology, which can directly collect the metallic elements from the ore. This is extraordinarily advanced." Zhao Shu was profoundly shaken. With these 100 deep-sea mining vessels, the ocean becomes an inexhaustible treasure trove for our Qin state. We need never worry about resources again. Thank you, thank you." Zhao Shu's voice choked and tears streamed down his aged face. It wasn't that he was overly sentimental, but he knew all too well that Qin state was a nation desperately lacking in resources. Though Qin state was vast and rich in resources, its population was enormous. No matter how abundant the resources, each person's share was painfully limited. This had for years left Qin state vulnerable to being strangled by other nations when it came to resources. Price gouging was the least of their worries, as sometimes resources were outright embargoed, and all their pleas fell on deaf ears. Just like this time with the precious metals, those nations were tightening the noose around Qin state's neck. They executed their tactics with practiced ease, clearly not for the first time. Old experts like Zhao Shu had endured enough of this foreign arrogance. Now, witnessing the power of the deep-sea mining vessels, Zhao Shu saw a vision of a future where Qin state's resources were no longer at the mercy of foreign powers, and his tears flowed from sheer elation. Su Mu remained humble. "We are all part of Qin state, and we all wish to see it strong. Those nations are short-sighted. In the end, they will only harm themselves." "Well said." Lu Bo clapped Su Mu hard on the shoulder. "Their short-sightedness will only be their own undoing. We will protect our homeland and our people." Foreign nations dismissed the threat of alien invasion with contemptuous indifference. But as soldiers of Qin state, they had unconditional faith in their country. At that moment, they looked at Su Mu with reverence. He had once again solved a monumental problem for Qin state. He was truly their savior, the savior of humanity. "These precious metals are raw materials for building mechs. Get them to Shizhou as soon as possible," Su Mu instructed. "They'll leave the work here to you all. Rest assured I will complete the mission flawlessly," Lu Bo declared. "I will ensure nothing goes wrong here," Zhao Shu promised. Su Mu nodded with satisfaction. Both men were steady and reliable, he trusted them. Sumu needed to leave to attend to other matters. The alien presence was drawing ever closer and humanity's crisis loomed imminent. Sumu had to race against time. Just then his phone rang. It was Professor Li Jiaming. Regent Advisor, our first batch of second-tier mechs, 200 sets of weapons and mechs, are ready. Li Jiaming's voice brimmed with excitement. Have you started testing yet? Sumu asked. Not yet. We're waiting for you to return. You are the master of the armory, a man from the future. We can't proceed without you at the helm. In Li Jiaming's eyes, Sumu was indispensable. They'll be right there, Sumu replied, equally thrilled. In the future, mechs were humanity's sharpest weapon against alien invaders. Originally, humanity had to suffer immense losses and endure great hardship before gradually mastering mecha technology through the crucible of war. Now, before the disaster had even struck, Qin state had already grasped this technology ahead of time. This was a momentous boon for facing the coming crisis. If we can build 3,000 mechs in 10 days, we can survive the first wave of the assault. Sumu clenched his fist thinking. Then he bid farewell to Lu Bo, boarded a plane, and returned to the Shizhou military. At the armory, Li Jiaming, Tang Shan, and others were already waiting for Sumu. He had barely stepped off the plane before heading straight to the armory without a moment's rest. Regent Advisor. The assembled high-ranking officials stepped forward respectfully to greet him. As Sumu successively unveiled national strategic-level technologies and resources, his position as Regent Master grew increasingly invaluable. The common populace might remain utterly ignorant of the name Sumu, for his identity was strictly classified, yet the nation's high-ranking officials, especially those at the Western Continent military base, were fully aware of Sumu's identity. They all knew that Sumu was a savior from the future, the hope of humanity. Spare me the formalities. Where are the mechs? Sumu, disdaining red tape, asked directly. Follow me, said Su Qi. Thus the group proceeded to a spacious field outside the armory. On the field stood 200 mechs, each about 3 meters tall, standing like celestial beings, gleaming with golden light and radiating awe-inspiring majesty. The 200 mechs resembled 200 gods. Everyone's eyes lit up. Even Su Qi, a man of steady composure, was no exception. What are mechs? They are the romance of men. Men love mechs as naturally as women love diamonds. So cool, even cooler than the mechs in movies. Not just cool, but imposing. If only I could pilot one. The design is stunning, but I wonder about their combat. The high-ranking officials buzzed with discussion. They were satisfied with these mechs, at least with their appearance. Combat power can be enhanced, but aesthetics are eternal. Though I am a professional scientist, you come from the future and know mechs better. How do you suggest we test them? Li Jiaming sought Sumu's opinion. The best method is live combat testing. Sumu smiled slightly. I recall that our Qin state secretly manufactured a batch of unmanned tanks this year, correct? How do you know? Li Jiaming blurted out. Then he realized his question was redundant. Sumu came from the future, where current top secrets might be common knowledge. Just as the J-20 was a state secret 5 years ago, today it is widely known. At the onset of the alien invasion, Qin state was forced to deploy its secret weapon, unmanned tanks, the world's most advanced tanks integrated with 5G information technology. Unfortunately, Sumu stated impassively, against the aliens' formidable assault, these unmanned tanks were reduced to scrap metal. Li Jiaming's heart grew heavy. He opened his mouth, but finally said, Fortunately, you've brought us mechs. Do you intend to test them against the unmanned tanks? Exactly, said Sumu. One mech can overwhelm 50 unmanned tanks. However, since the pilot will be a novice, let's start with 20 tanks against one mech. Isn't that an exaggeration? Li Jiaming's eyes widened. He had played a significant role in inventing the unmanned tanks, and Sumu's disparagement stung. I am not exaggerating in the slightest. Sumu said gravely. Li Jiaming met Sumu's gaze. Sumu's eyes remained steady. Very well, summon 20 unmanned tanks for the mech test. Li Jiaming took a deep breath and issued the order. Moments later, 20 unmanned tanks rumbled in. The earth trembled. The 20 unmanned tanks, like 20 Siberian tigers, were swift, fierce, and bristling with killing intent. If not for the alien incursion, these 20 unmanned tanks would rank among the most advanced military equipment. The unmanned tanks, utilizing mature 5G information technology and autonomous driving principles, could be remotely operated for combat without personnel on board. This drastically reduced soldier casualties. Their performance was top-notch. 5 cm-thick titanium alloy armor and firepower comparable to medium-range missiles made them kings of the battlefield. Yet such advanced weaponry facing an alien invasion could only meet a premature end. The 20 tanks exuding menace awed the onlookers at their debut. What do you think of our tanks? Li Jiaming asked Sumu. Remarkable, Sumu replied honestly. But they are too fragile before the mechs. Enough talk, Li Jiaming said. Let's see what they can do. Sumu's eyes flickered, and he smiled. All right, but mechs are designed for humans. The mightier the warrior, the better they can harness the mech's potential. Only those who achieve unity with their mech become true mech warriors. Testing mechs requires a pilot. Li Jiaming was troubled. But currently no one on Earth has ever piloted a mech, and there are no mech pilots. You're wrong. Someone has piloted a mech. Sumu said. Who? Me. Sumu pointed at himself. Everyone stared at him in astonishment. They quickly grasped. You intend to test it yourself? Li Jiaming asked. Exactly, Sumu replied. No. Li Jiaming, Tangshan, and Su Qi almost simultaneously objected. Their unanimous opposition startled Sumu. Why, he asked. Su Qi said sternly. You are now the nation's treasure. If anything happens to you, it would be an irreparable loss. You cannot take such a risk. Sumu argued. How is this taking a risk? No one understands mechs better than I do. I am the most suitable tester. Su Qi shook his head vehemently. Absolutely not. You are Qin State's most precious asset. You cannot even lose a single strand of hair. The monarch has repeatedly instructed that you must not be exposed to danger. Sumu felt a warmth in his heart. He sighed. Fine, but if not me, then who? Though thwarted in his desire to pilot the mech, he felt not anger, but warmth, realizing how much the state valued. How about me? Tangshan volunteered. I have a talent for piloting. Planes, tanks, aircraft carriers. Am proficient in all. Mech should be no different. Sumu's eyes lit up, thinking Tangshan was indeed an excellent candidate. The most crucial qualities for a future mech warrior were not piloting skills, but physical and mental fortitude. Physically, Tangshan had just taken the super serum, greatly enhancing his body. No issue there. Mentally, having risen from an ordinary soldier to the head of the Western continent military base, Tangshan had overcome countless trials and near-death experiences. His mental resilience was unquestionable. It seems no one here is more suitable than you, Sumu said. You are a born mech warrior. With Sumu's endorsement, everyone agreed that Tangshan was the undisputed choice for the mech test. No one. Tangshan boarded his long-cherished mecha with a beaming smile. The moment he entered, he felt an extraordinary sense of integration, as if the mecha had become an extension of his own body. This sensation was so enchanting that Tangshan nearly lost himself in it. Yet being a professional soldier, he quickly regained his composure and discovered a significant issue. Brother Sumu, I suddenly have a bad feeling. Tangshan exclaimed loudly. What's wrong? Sumu asked. Why doesn't this mecha have an operating system? Tangshan inquired. Inside the mecha, he could see no buttons or joysticks for operation. He faintly suspected that he might have been tricked. Of course the mecha has an operating system, Sumu said with a sly grin. I don't see it, Tangshan said, utterly confused. That's because its operating system is unique. It's your consciousness. Sumu explained. Your consciousness connects to the mecha's network, and you can command it. The ultimate state is the unity of man and machine. What? Tangshan said in bewilderment. I don't feel my consciousness connecting to any network at all. Sumu shrugged and said, no help for it, you're too dull. But time is pressing. The test begins now. Wait, I'm not ready yet, Tangshan grew increasingly flustered. But there was no more time for him to prepare, for the test had truly commenced. 20 unmanned tanks surrounded Tangshan's mecha from all directions, though towering the mecha encircled and outnumbered 20-1 appeared pitiful, weak, and helpless. The tank turrets rotated like tigers baring their claws, or dragons exhaling their breath. Boom. 20 shells were fired simultaneously. Like falling meteorites, they changed the color of the sky. The 20 shells struck the mecha. An even louder boom followed. In an instant the earth shook and the mountains swayed. Most of those present could not keep their footing, their faces etched with worry. Though they knew the mecha's defensive capabilities should be excellent, the unmanned tank shells were comparable to medium-range missiles. The power of 20 medium-range missiles was no trifling matter. If anything went wrong, Tangshan would be reduced to ashes. But Sumu was not concerned. A first-level mecha feared not even nuclear weapons. Though this mecha was only second level, it was more than enough to withstand any missile on Earth. If mere medium-range missiles could threaten the mecha, wouldn't its construction have been in vain? Still, Tangshan wouldn't have an easy time of it. Sure enough, after the thunderous roar, the mecha stood unscathed. It remained proudly in place, inviolable, exuding an aura of, let the strong be strong, the breeze caresses the hill, let the fierce be fierce, the bright moon shines upon the great river. The mecha seemed to have suffered no damage, but the pilot inside was in a sorry state. Tangshan felt his blood surging, grateful that he had used the super serum to greatly enhance his physical constitution. Otherwise he would surely be vomiting and retching. Nevertheless, Tangshan gained a new appreciation for the mecha's defensive prowess. Tangshan had used unmanned tanks before and knew just how formidable their power was. Yet the shells from 20 tanks could not even scratch the mecha. Its defensive capability was truly unmatched. Forget the mecha's offensive power. Just this defense alone is astonishing. The power of the tank shells is no less than medium-range missiles, and the mecha is completely unharmed. Unbelievable. The mecha's defense is truly impressive. I wonder how its offense fares. Everyone present was thoroughly satisfied with the mecha's defensive capabilities. Meanwhile, the 20 unmanned tanks launched another round of attacks at the mecha. Sumo said with a sly grin, Brother Tangshan, don't just take the beating without fighting back. That's too stifling. You need to show everyone the mecha's offensive power. Tong Shen said angrily, once I master this mecha, it'll tear those tanks to shreds. Tong Shen was after all a professional soldier, and an exceptionally fine one. At first he couldn't grasp the secret of connecting his consciousness to the network. But after enduring several rounds of bombardment, and having his blood surge multiple times, Tong Shen finally got the hang of it. His consciousness linked to the mecha's network, and instantly, he felt the mecha truly become his own body. Haha, I've mastered the mecha. Time to counterattack. Tong Shen laughed heartily. Finally, before the eyes of the crowd, the mecha began its retaliation. Tong Shen's mecha leaped and landed before a tank. A beam sword instantly materialized from its right arm. The beam sword sliced into the tank as easily as a steel knife cutting through tofu. The unmanned tank was cleaved cleanly in two. The crowd gasped. My god, that's 5 cm thick titanium alloy steel plate. Is that a beam sword? Truly invincible. The mecha has finally cut loose. This offensive power is decent. The crowd marveled incessantly. The remaining 19 unmanned tanks were not to be trifled with. The 19 tanks changed formation, dispersing to attack the mecha continuously. They spread out to avoid being wiped out in one fell swoop. Even knowing the tanks were no match for the mecha, the remote operators wanted to delay as long as possible, at least to avoid a humiliating defeat. Tong Shen was thrilled to the point of intoxication. That's useless. It's time you learned what true power is. I have a new function, flower shower. Tong Shen laughed wildly. The mecha piloted by Tong Shen crouched down. Its two mechanical arms were positioned one high and one low, as if gathering strength. Tong Shen laughed wildly. The mecha piloted by Tong Shen crouched down. Its two mechanical arms were positioned, dazzling white lasers scattered in all directions like a flower shower. Pop, pop, crack. The sound of electrical equipment failing rang out. The 19 tanks, like crabs struck dead, collapsed one by one, paralyzed and immobile. They had been instantly destroyed by the lasers emitted by the mecha. Devastating and overwhelming, such was the scene. Everyone was stunned. Then thunderous applause erupted. Their gazes all turned to Sumo. 20 unmanned tanks are no match for the mecha. With these mechas, our Qin kingdom will be the most powerful military force in the world. Fantastic. If we can mass-produce these mechas, no matter what crisis we face, we will not fear. Thank you, Sumo, for everything you've done for the nation. You have brought us a new power, an invincible power. One after another, the high-ranking officials grew increasingly excited. The more composed among them remained relatively calm. Those less composed were so stirred that they could not even speak coherently. But inwardly, Matsuyama Taro was still profoundly shocked. His true identity was the highest state secret of the Fufeng kingdom, known only to the prime. The mecha's power was astonishing. It was practically defying the heavens. Tang Shan's heart surged with excitement. He had heard that the nation was training a group of mecha warriors to combat the aliens. Undoubtedly, he was a born mecha warrior. Though he had suffered a minor setback due to Su Mu's prank at first, he quickly became one with the mecha. He vaguely touched upon the legendary realm of human-mecha unity. He felt that he had not yet unleashed the full power of the mecha. To unleash its full power, one must achieve human-mecha unity. Only then could one be invincible. Tang Shan stepped out of the mecha and laughed heartily. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's incredibly awesome. I've never felt this good before. Su Mu smiled and said, I told you that you're a born mecha warrior. Was I wrong? You're still not proficient with the mecha now. Once you master it, you could crush 50 unmanned tanks with overwhelming force. This is only a level 2 mecha. I wonder how powerful a level 1 mecha would be. Li Jiaming mused aloud. Su Mu said, as long as the special resources are in place, the production of level 1 mechas will be swift. Tang Shan looked at Su Mu with eager eyes and asked, I heard the nation is planning to establish a mecha army. Su Mu replied, that's true. Tang Shan hesitated and said, I wonder if I might have a chance. Su Mu chuckled. I've already said you're a born mecha warrior. He'll have you lead the dragon group to form a mecha army. Thank you, Tang Shan said, filled with gratitude. The way he looked at Su Mu had completely changed. Previously, Su Mu was merely a lofty figure in his eyes, but at this moment, he regarded Su Mu as his own brother. Just then, Su Qi received a phone call and said to Su Mu, the sovereign is very pleased to hear that the resource issue has been resolved and the mecha has been tested. He wants to hear the details from you and also learn about your next steps. Su Mu smiled wryly. I truly have a mountain of tasks to handle. He'll go see the sovereign right away. With that, Su Mu prepared to depart. It must be said that the sovereign of the Qin kingdom possessed great talent and extraordinary vision. In the future, it was under his wise leadership that the Qin kingdom weathered the most difficult times. Su Mu had always held a favorable impression of the sovereign. However, just as he was about to leave the weapons factory, he caught sight of a familiar figure. It was a handsome man in a special uniform carrying a briefcase under his arm about to leave the factory. Wasn't that Matsuyama Taro? Su Mu was startled. Matsuyama Taro was a key figure from the future Fufeng kingdom. Though not among the highest echelons, he commanded a portion of Fufeng's military forces. Rumor had it that in his youth Matsuyama Taro stole core technologies from the Qin kingdom, earning great merit and rising swiftly through the ranks. Sumu was very familiar with Matsuyama Taro. In the future, he had crossed paths with him many times and even suffered some minor losses at his hands. Even if Matsuyama Taro were reduced to ashes, Sumu would still recognize him. If Matsuyama Taro was appearing in such a classified location as the superweapons factory, and if he was indeed the real Matsuyama Taro, not just someone who looked like him, then there was a huge problem. Could there be two identical people in the world? Absolutely not. Even twins are not exactly alike, let alone sharing the same demeanor. That was impossible. Sumu's heart sank. Adhering to the principle of better safe than sorry, he strode forward and blocked Matsuyama Taro's path. Upon closer inspection, Sumu was 60% certain that this man was indeed Matsuyama Taro, a future key figure from the Fufeng Kingdom appearing in the Qin Kingdom's most confidential weapons factory. The implications were obvious. Mr. Sumu, what is this? Matsuyama Taro asked calmly, unfazed by Sumu blocking his way. True to his nature as a professional spy, he remained composed and showed no panic. At that moment, the system's options appeared before Sumu. Option 1, I chat amiably with the spy and let him go. Option 2, expose the spy and eliminate a threat to the nation. As soon as the options appeared, Sumu was 100% certain that this man was Matsuyama Taro, a spy. By then, Su Qi and the others had also arrived, astonished as to why Sumu had suddenly stopped a staff member. Sumu had already chosen option 2 in his mind: expose the spy and eliminate a threat to the nation. Ding. Reward received. Obtained 500 sets of anti-spy nemesis and 1 blueprint. Sumu was overjoyed. The anti-spy nemesis was a crucial invention for humanity in the future, playing a vital role. Acquiring the anti-spy nemesis at this stage undoubtedly added another advantage to humanity's cause. The aliens invading Earth were extremely cunning and ruthless. They used a special substance to infiltrate human brains, pitting humans against each other. They created countless alien spies hidden within human society, ready to strike at critical moments, causing immense damage to the human order. Later in his twilight years and frail from illness, the genius human scientist Dr. Qin invented the anti-spy nemesis. Shortly after completing it, Dr. Qin succumbed to exhaustion and his worsening condition, passing away. The anti-spy nemesis was Dr. Qin's final legacy. It precisely identified the alien spies lurking in human society, buying humanity precious time to recover. If it could accurately detect alien spies, dealing with a mere high-level spy from the Fufeng Kingdom was a trivial matter. Sumu's confidence was instantly restored. A mysterious smile curled at the corner of Sumu's mouth as he asked Matsuyama Taro, "What is your name?" "My name is Su Jian," Matsuyama Taro replied, still pretending. Sumu gave a faint, knowing smile. "Are you really Su Jian?" Matsuyama Taro's heart tightened. Could he have been exposed? But that was impossible. Given his cover, how could he be discovered? Steeling himself, Matsuyama Taro said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask Director Su Qi. They all know me. I, Su Jian, may not be famous, but I am not unknown." Su Qi vouched for him, frowning. "Yes, Sumu. His name is indeed Su Jian. His identity has been verified by us multiple times." Tang Shan whispered to Sumu, "Su Jian is the son of Armed Forces Minister Su Yubang. He comes from a solid background and is absolutely trustworthy." Tang Shan seemed to discern that Sumu had some misunderstanding regarding Su Xian's identity, and thus took the initiative to clarify for him. Armed Forces Minister Su Yubang was no insignificant figure. Though not as esteemed as a cabinet elder, he was nonetheless a powerful regional governor with immense authority. Moreover, the Su family had been a lineage of generals for generations, producing many heroic martyrs worthy of song and tears. It was by no means an exaggeration to call them impeccably loyal. Since Su Jian was Su Yubang's son, there could be no major issue with him. Seeing that Su Qi and Tang Shen were both speaking on his behalf, Matsuyama Taro's heart grew even more settled. All traces of tension vanished, and he appeared completely at ease. "Mr. Sumu, do you have any further doubts about me?" Sumu sneered. "I believe you are certainly not called Su Jian." Matsuyama Taro asked, "Then what am I called?" Sumu enunciated each word. "You are called Matsuyama Taro." Matsuyama Taro's pupils abruptly constricted, his heart jolting, yet his face remained unmoved. As a professional spy, managing his expressions was merely basic skill. But inwardly, Matsuyama Taro was still profoundly shocked. His true identity was the highest state secret of the Fufeng Kingdom, known only to the Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers. That Sumu had exposed his true identity in one breath was utterly terrifying. Among those present, only Su Qi noticed the subtle change in Matsuyama Taro's pupils. "What are you talking about, Matsuyama Taro? Who is Matsuyama Taro? I have never heard of him." Matsuyama Taro feigned a aggrieved expression. "I am Su Jian, the genuine Su Jian. Yes, he's old Su. I've worked with him for a year. He's the son of Armed Forces Minister Su Yobang, not some Lord Regent. Could you have mistaken him for someone else?" It was evident that Matsuyama Taro was adept at networking and had good relations with everyone who for a moment many spoke up for him. I see you won't give up until you're at death's door, Sumu said coldly. Matsuyama Taro, will you confess yourself, or do you want me to reveal more? Su Jian fumed. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Even if you are the Lord Regent, you cannot slander someone's reputation without cause. Sumu recalled the information about Matsuyama Taro that would be exposed in the future, and said Matsuyama Taro, a native of Fuji County in the Fufeng Kingdom, graduated from the Fufeng Military Academy and joined the Intelligence Division after graduation. Due to his outstanding performance and exceptional abilities, he was quickly promoted and is now the head of the Intelligence Division. Later, he infiltrated the Western Zhou military base of the Qin Kingdom to secretly steal Qin's technology. Am I correct, Mr. Matsuyama Taro? Sumu stared intently at Matsuyama Taro. Matsuyama Taro's heart was shaken beyond measure. What the hell? What in the world was this? How did this Sumu know his identity so thoroughly? How could Sumu describe his background with such pinpoint accuracy? Had someone in the Empire betrayed him? But that couldn't be. If they had betrayed him, they should have informed Security Bureau Chief Su Chi of his identity, not Sumu. What was going on? Though panic had set in, Matsuyama Taro remained outwardly composed. I have no idea what you're talking about. He continued to argue, but he noticed that Su Kai's look toward him had changed. Su Kai's sharp gaze swept over him from head to toe, making his hair stand on end and cold sweat trickle down. Su Chi recalled Su Mu's identity as a time traveler and his prophecy, and immediately began to doubt the identity of this Su Jian. Although Matsuyama Taro showed no flaws, it was unlikely that Su Mu would falsely accuse him. Su Mu was now Earth's only savior. Busier than one could imagine, he wouldn't engage in such pointless trivialities. Just as Matsuyama Taro felt the situation turning unfavorable, a burly man in military uniform burst into the base and shouted, Who is slandering my son? Who is tarnishing the Su family's reputation? It's Minister Su. Armed Forces Minister Su Yubang has arrived. Father. Matsuyama Taro was overjoyed. The newcomer was indeed Su Yubang from the Armed Forces Ministry. Since the ministry was fully dedicated to serving the Western Zhou military base, it had also relocated nearby. The 20 unmanned tanks from earlier had actually been transferred from the Armed Forces Ministry, otherwise they could not have arrived so quickly. Su Yubang had friends everywhere, so when Su Mu accused Matsuyama Taro of being a spy, Su Yubang received the tip-off and got the news immediately. Upon receiving the news, Su Yubang was furious and stormed straight to the armory to back up his son. Minister Su, please don't get agitated. Su Chi calmly blocked Su Yubang. It is the Lord Regent who accuses your son of being a spy. We can all discuss this clearly. If your son is innocent, we will apologize to him. Su Yubang swept his gaze around and fixed it on Su Mu. Su Mu, are you the one accusing my son of being a spy? Su Mu said it was I. Su Yubang fumed. Su Mu, I know you are the Lord Regent, but that doesn't give you the right to slander people. Do you know that our Su family has been loyal and martyred for generations, not comparable to an upstart like you? Having never witnessed Su Mu's miracles firsthand and only heard rumors, Su Yubang believed that such tales were greatly exaggerated, like catching a lizard and blowing it up into a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Thus Su Yubang did not hold Su Mu in high regard, thinking he had merely deceived the sovereign and risen, by chance, utterly incomparable to a family as loyal and illustrious as the Su family. Originally, the two sides had kept to themselves, each going their own way like parallel lines with no connection. But for Su Mu to dare slander his beloved son, this was indeed intolerable. I am well aware of the Su family's generations of loyalty and martyrdom, and I deeply admire it, Su Mu said. However, it is an ironclad fact that Matsuyama Taro, calling himself Su Jian, is a spy for the Fufeng Kingdom. Su Yubang's hair bristled with rage. How dare you? You are defiling the Su family's honor. Even if you are the Lord Regent, slandering our family like this means the Su family will oppose you to the bitter end until one of us perishes. As a full minister, when Su Yubang became enraged, his gaze was intimidating enough to make others avoid it. But Su Mu remained unhurried, meeting Su Yubang's gaze directly. So you are 100% certain that your son is not a spy? Su Yubang declared loudly. Of course I am 100% certain my son is not a spy. Su Mu asked, what if your son really is a spy? That is absolutely impossible. What if he is? If my son truly is a spy, I will kowtow to you an apology and take my own life. There's no need for such extremes. An apology will suffice. And if my son is not a spy? Su Mu said, if your son is not a spy, I will apologize to the Su family. How does that sound? Just an apology? Su Yubang was clearly unsatisfied. Su Mu said indifferently, what else do you want? I want you to. Su Yubang was about to propose a harsh condition. Fortunately, Su Chi quickly grabbed Su Yubang's arm and whispered, Su Mu is someone the sovereign values highly. Do you want the Su family to incur the sovereign's wrath? Su Yubang fell silent. Although the Su family wielded considerable influence, they were nothing before the sovereign. Since Su Mu was favored by the sovereign, he could not be pushed too far. Thus Su Yubang suppressed his anger and said, Su Mu, if my son is not a spy, I demand a public apology from you to the Su family. Fine. Su Mu agreed to Su Yubang's terms. Su Yubang said with a dark face, Su Mu, you claim my son is a spy, but everything requires evidence. Do you have any? Su Mu replied, evidence. Sorry, I don't have any. Everyone's eyes widened, finding it absurd. Su Mu accused Matsuyama Taro of being a spy without any evidence. Wasn't this too rash? Matsuyama Taro was delighted. He had assumed Su Mu possessed decisive evidence before making the accusation, but it turned out Su Mu was merely speculating. No matter how accurate the guess, without evidence it was useless. Bastard. Su Yubang's suppressed fury erupted again. You don't have a shred of evidence, yet you dare call my son a spy. Have you lost your mind? Wait. Su Qi felt Su Mu was in an awkward position, so he stepped in to help. Su Jian, may I take a look at your briefcase? Matsuyama Taro said. Are you suspecting I've hidden state secrets in my briefcase? Su Qi smiled. Don't be nervous. It's just a routine inspection. Matsuyama Taro declared righteously. I, Su Jian, have a clear conscience. Inspect as you wish. With that he handed over his briefcase. Su Qi meticulously examined every item inside the briefcase. As the director of the Security Bureau, he was familiar with most espionage techniques in the world. But in Matsuyama Taro's briefcase, he found nothing. Have you found any state secrets? Matsuyama Taro, sorry for the intrusion. Su Qi had no choice but to return the briefcase. As for a body search, that would be too. If Su Yubang weren't present, a body search might have been possible. But with him here, it was out of the question. You have no evidence, and director's inspection has proven my innocence. Matsuyama Taro glared at Su Mu. You accused me of being a spy without cause, slandering me, damaging my reputation, and tarnishing the Su family's honor. You must apologize. Su Yubang snarled. And a public apology at that. Apologize now. No, I won't apologize. Su Mu smiled faintly. Su Yubang said, Are you going to play dirty? Let me tell you, even with the sovereign's backing, you can't get away with. But Su Mu took out a strangely shaped black searchlight and chuckled. I haven't finished speaking yet. I may not have evidence, but I have this. Matsuyama Taro laughed. What are you doing with a flashlight? Do you intend to convict me with that? You're utterly ridiculous. Su Mu said solemnly, That's right. I do plan to convict you with this flashlight. You're just desperate and losing your mind. As Matsuyama Taro spoke, Su Mu suddenly switched on the searchlight, shining it on him, and said, Matsuyama Taro, behold my magic weapon. With a piercing ring, the searchlight emitted a red beam that flickered over Matsuyama Taro. Simultaneously, a voice came from the device. Spy Matsuyama Taro detected. Shall we compel him to speak the truth? Compel him to speak the truth, Su Mu said. This so-called truth-telling forced the spy into a state of. This was the brilliance of the anti-espionage device invented by Dr. Qin. It could scan the unique frequency of a person's brainwaves, inducing a hypnotic-like state that made them speak the truth. As a soft yellow light fell upon Matsuyama Taro, he collapsed to his knees and blurted out, I'm not Su Jian at all. I am Matsuyama Taro. That fool Su Yubang wants to be my father. How ridiculous. I am no citizen of the Qin kingdom. I am a proud subject of the mighty Fufeng Empire, and I pledge allegiance only to the Fufeng Empire. As Matsuyama Taro spoke, he confessed every detail of his experiences and actions. He even revealed the shameful incident of hiding in the girls' restroom in 5th grade to peep at girls using the toilet, leaving nothing out. He concealed nothing else either. It turned out that Matsuyama Taro, eager for rapid promotion, had decided to infiltrate the Qin kingdom to steal the technology for its most advanced fighter jet, the J-23. To this end, Matsuyama Taro had targeted Su Yubang, planning to impersonate his son Su Jian. With Su Yubang's help, accessing the Qin kingdom's core secrets would be much easier. Su Yubang's wife came from a family even more powerful than the Su family and was a domineering shrew. Even though she was infertile, she kept Su Yubang firmly under her thumb. Su Yubang didn't even dare to have a fling, let alone take a concubine. Thus he remained childless for years, which was his greatest regret. However, 20 years ago, Su Yubang had a first love named Ning Luer. She was his college sweetheart, and they shared a passionate romance as dramatic as a soap opera. But Ning Luer came from a humble background and couldn't aid Su Yubang's career. The Su family forced them apart, and they had to separate. Su Yubang was left with no choice but to enter a political marriage with a spoiled young lady from another powerful family. After parting with Su Yubang, Ning Luer discovered she was unexpectedly pregnant. She hoped that having a child might change their circumstances. But due to her frail health, Ning Luer suffered a difficult labor, resulting in the death of both mother and child. Matsuyama Taro and the Fufeng kingdom exploited this, tampering with records to fabricate Matsuyama Taro as Ning Luer's surviving son Su Jian. Then Matsuyama Taro approached Su Yubang to claim kinship. Overjoyed at having a son, Su Yubang was nonetheless cautious and investigated the situation. He found that Ning Luer had indeed given birth to a son named Su Jian before dying. Su Yubang then had a paternity test done with Matsuyama Taro which confirmed he was his son. He subsequently negotiated with his family and wife to allow Matsuyama Taro to return to the clan. After becoming the son of Su Yobang, Songshan Tailong, disguised as Su Jian, quickly infiltrated the Shizhou military base and continuously stole the secrets of Qin state. However, to claim all the credit for himself, Songshan Tailong had not yet sent the stolen secrets out. Instead, he planned to accumulate them, and when the opportune moment came, deliver them all at once to earn himself a monumental achievement. Thus, this spy Songshan Tailong had not yet caused irreversible damage to Qin state. Of course, had Su Mu not seen through his disguise and forced him to confess the truth, Qin state would undoubtedly have suffered a great loss at the hands of this top-tier spy. As Songshan Tailong recounted his deeds, everyone present was stunned. Su Yobang in particular was not only shocked, but also filled with shame and a sense of utter disgrace. If there were a crack in the ground at that moment, Su Yubang would have surely crawled into it to escape the humiliation. This Su Jian was not only a spy from Fufeng state, but was not even Su Yubang's real son. The words were false, the identity was false, everything was a lie. Su Yubang recalled the emotional investment he had poured into Songshan Tailong over the past 2 years, and it felt as though he had offered his burning affection to a dog. The sensation was far more agonizing than eating feces mixed with mustard. What a grievous insult this was. Since ancient times there have been cases of taking an enemy for a father, but when had there ever been taking an enemy for a son? This was not only a personal humiliation for Su Yubang, but also a disgrace for the entire Su family. Moreover, although Su Yubang had a somewhat fiery temper, he was utterly loyal to his country. Because he had mistaken his son and trusted the wrong person, he had nearly caused, or had already caused, significant losses to the nation. Su Yubang felt such anguish that it seemed to suffocate him. At that moment, Su Yubang trembled all over, his face flushed crimson, veins bulging, and eyes blazing with fury, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Songshan Tailong continued his account. Every time I stole secrets, I would use a special potion unique to Fufeng state to write the information between the lines of documents. This potion is colorless and odorless, making it extremely difficult to detect. That is how I managed to carry away many secrets without ever being caught. Su Mu asked, "Did you bring any secrets this time?" "Yes," Songshan Tailong replied, obediently opening his briefcase and taking out a stack of documents. Having witnessed the power of the mecha with my own eyes, I naturally knew it was extremely important intelligence. So I secretly recorded the parameters and information about the mecha. In the future, I also plan to steal mecha components to render further service to Fufeng state. Su Kai's face flushed with embarrassment. He felt a sense of shame himself. As the director of the security bureau and a former top-tier agent, he had inspected the documents, but failed to detect Songshan Tailong's subtle tricks. This was a loss of face of the highest order. "How does your potion become visible?" Su Mu asked. "Pour water on it, and the writing appears. Bring me a bottle of mineral water." Soon someone fetched a bottle and handed it to Su Mu. Su Mu took the water, poured it over the documents, and immediately strikingly vivid red characters and drawings emerged on the paper. The characters were elegantly written in the script of Fufeng state, recording the mecha's various parameters with pinpoint accuracy, all the most core secrets. The drawings, lifelike and detailed, depicted the mecha's exterior and the structure of its components. They were executed with professional skill, clearly the work of a top-tier spy. If Songshan Tailong had managed to take these documents out, the Qin state's armaments and mecha would no longer be a secret to Fufeng state. Now the evidence is conclusive, Su Mu declared, switching off the anti-spy device. From beginning to end, there was never anyone called Su Jian. Only Songshan Tailong, a treacherous spy. Facts speak louder than words. In the face of irrefutable evidence, everyone now believed that Songshan Tailong was a spy, and a super spy at that. This bastard has stolen who knows how many of our nation's secrets. Even shooting him 10,000 times wouldn't be enough to quench our anger. Damn spy. I treated him like a brother, yet he harbored ill intentions and turned out to be a spy. Thanks to His Excellency the National Advisor. Without his sharp eyes to see through this spy, the secrets of Qin state would have been fully exposed to Fufeng state. Everyone sighed in admiration, their gazes towards Su Mu filled with astonishment and reverence. They knew that if Su Mu had not uncovered the spy, Qin state might have been severely disadvantaged by the leakage of its secrets. This time Su Mu had removed a scourge for the nation, rooting out a spy and saving Qin state from great losses. As they looked at Su Mu, a phrase came to mind. A peerless master of the realm. Su Mu was truly a master without equal. What is that device of yours? It can make a spy completely visible. It surely can't be just a searchlight, can it? Su Qi asked, his eyes fixed on the anti-spy device in Su Mu's hand. He had just witnessed its power and felt an intense desire to possess it. With this device, it was like having Sun Wukong's fiery golden eyes. All demons and monsters would be exposed, and no evil spirits could hide. If this device could be widely deployed, any spies from other countries infiltrating Qin state would be walking. Then no spy would ever be able to uncover Qin state's secrets, and all of Qin state's classified projects would be as solid as a rock, fortified like an impenetrable fortress. Just imagining this made one realize how crucial it was to the nation. Sumu smiled and said, "Of course it's not a searchlight. This is the anti-spy device." Anti-spy device. It's a device specifically designed to counter spies. In the future, aliens will use special substances to control humans and turn them into spies, sabotaging human society at critical moments. So we invented the anti-spy device to counter this alien tactic, Sumu explained. Su Kai's eyes lit up. This is truly a wonderful piece of equipment. If we have this, we can not only fight aliens, but also sweep away all spies from other countries. How many of the 500 sets? Sumu said with a slight smile. So many. Su Chi was overjoyed. One anti-spy device can serve a whole base. There are about 500 critical bases across the country, so this barely covers the entire nation. If we can root out all the spies lurking around us, imagine how much loss that would save the country. As the director of the Security Bureau, Su Chi was responsible for domestic and international covert operations, with espionage being a key focus of his work. Now seeing the anti-spy device was like a bull encountering a swift steed. He was naturally excited and eager to start exposing all the spies to rid the country of its scourges. I also have the design blueprints. The manufacturing process isn't too sophisticated. With our current industrial capabilities, we can mass produce it. Sumu added another piece of good news. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Su Chi beamed with joy. Sumu, you are truly a great blessing for our Qin state. With you, good fortune shines upon us. Everyone else laughed as well. Everyone understood the miraculous utility of the anti-espionage panacea, knowing that once mass-produced, the Qin kingdom would become a spy's hell and state secrets would be exceedingly difficult to leak. This was a monumental boon for the Qin kingdom, but an exceedingly dire omen for other nations. Especially these days, with the Qin kingdom's relentless major moves, the number of spies dispatched by various nations to infiltrate Qin had surged, all in a bid to uncover its true intentions. If the anti-espionage panacea were to be fully deployed, these spies would be utterly wiped out by the Qin kingdom. Training a single spy was no small expense, and every nation would suffer devastating losses. As a loyal spy of the Fufeng kingdom, Matsuyama Taro, having just emerged from a hypnotic state, heard Suma's words and instantly realized that once the anti-espionage panacea became widespread, it would deliver a fatal blow to Fufeng's espionage operations. The spy network that Fufeng had painstakingly cultivated in the Qin kingdom over many years would likely be uprooted and obliterated entirely. Such a loss would be an unbearable burden for the Fufeng kingdom. No, I cannot let the empire suffer such a loss. I must escape and notify the empire so our intelligence operatives can evacuate in advance. Moreover, now that his identity had been exposed, a captured spy was almost certain to be executed in secret. I, Matsuyama Taro, am only in my 20s with a long youth and a promising future ahead. I cannot die in the Qin kingdom. Thus, whether out of patriotism or self-preservation, Matsuyama Taro resolved to take a hostage and flee this place. As long as he could escape the perimeter of the Shizhou military base with his skills, he could vanish like a stone dropped into the sea, disappearing without a trace. Matsuyama Taro's gaze swept around and settled on Sumo. He felt that taking Sumo hostage was the best choice. There were others present, but most lacked sufficient status. Taking them hostage would not compel the Qin kingdom. Those with enough standing, like Tang Shan, Su Chi, and Su Yobong, were either seasoned military men with formidable skills or elite agents with exceptional abilities. Kidnapping them would be far too difficult, and it would likely result in failure or even backfire. Although Matsuyama Taro was a 6th Dan black belt in karate and had undergone rigorous combat training, he stood little chance against any one of Su Chi, Tang Shan, or Su Yubang. From this perspective, Sumu was the most suitable hostage. First, Sumu had been an ordinary civilian, utterly unremarkable, presumably weak, and easy to overpower. Second, as the state inspector, Sumu had unveiled black technologies that influenced the Qin kingdom's national destiny. Taking him hostage would surely force the Qin kingdom to compromise. Later, Yan Xiaoying became the top scorer in the college entrance exams, gaining admission to Qin kingdom's best university, Qingbei University. Subsequently, Sumu is a grave threat to the Fufeng kingdom. If I could assassinate him before escaping, nipping him in the bud, that would be even better. With this thought, malice surged in Matsuyama Taro's heart. He lunged abruptly, drew a short blade from his sleeve, and launched a ferocious attack on Sumo. He aimed to seize Sumu in an instant, threaten the Qin kingdom, and make his escape. Watch out, Sumo. You bastard, how dare you? You're asking for death. In the blink of an eye, it all happened in a flash of lightning. Matsuyama Taro's movements were swift and unpredictable, catching everyone off guard. By the time Su Chi and the others realized Matsuyama Taro was about to attack Sumu, it was too late. In that instant, feelings of remorse, regret, and anguish surged within them. They regretted not restraining Matsuyama Taro in time. If any harm came to Sumu, they would be guilty of a crime 10,000 deaths could not atone for. I am a 6th Dan black belt in karate and a 7th Dan master of the Agaryu sword style. You are just an ordinary man, clearly untrained. I will capture you, use you to threaten the Qin kingdom, and then kill you. Matsuyama Taro's heart was filled with malice, his eyes venomous, and a sinister grin curled on his lips. He thought he was fast, but in Suma's eyes his movements were as slow as a snail. If Sumu were truly an ordinary person, he would have fallen for Matsuyama Taro's scheme. Unfortunately, Sumu had taken the super serum, granting him physical prowess surpassing that of Captain America. With physical capabilities far exceeding Captain America's, dealing with a mere Matsuyama Taro even without combat training was as easy as an adult handling a child. Sumu threw a punch. It was as swift as lightning, striking Matsuyama Taro's short blade. Punching a knife with your fist, pitting flesh and blood against steel. You're asking to be crippled. Matsuyama Taro laughed heartily. Then I'll grant your wish. I have a body of steel, Sumu said calmly. Clang. Fist met blade. Suma's fist remained unscathed, but Matsuyama Taro's blade shattered into pieces, and his entire body went numb from the overwhelming force. Impossible. Matsuyama Taro was stunned, frozen in disbelief. Sumu snorted coldly and delivered another punch to Matsuyama Taro's stomach. With a howl of agony, Matsuyama Taro collapsed to the ground. Did you really think I was a pushover? Sumu sneered. Su-chi let out a sigh of relief. You scared me to death, Sumu. When did you become so skilled? Sumu replied, my skills are quite ordinary. I just took the super serum. The soldiers of the Dragon Group are far more formidable than I am. This spy is incapacitated. Restrain him and take him away. Su-chi immediately ordered. Take this spy away and keep him under strict control. Don't let him commit. Yes, sir. And so Matsuyama Taro was taken away, awaiting a cruel fate worse than death. Sumu turned to Su Yubang and said, Minister Su, wasn't I right? That man wasn't your son, he was a spy. You owe me an apology. Su Yobang, overwhelmed with complex shame and remorse, snapped back to reality after a moment's pause, then bowed his head and said, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Having said that, Su Yubang suddenly drew his service pistol, tears welling in his eyes, and sighed deeply. But I have failed my country even more. Because I trusted the wrong person, a high-level spy has stolen state secrets. How can I face the world with honor? With those words, Su Yubang aimed the pistol at his temple, ready to take his own life in atonement. With a swift chop, Sumu knocked the pistol from Su Yubang's hand, then steadied him and shouted, Minister Su, what are you doing? Su Yobang, tears streaming down his face, said, I have failed my country and my people. I do not deserve to live. I believe you were merely deceived, Minister Su. A father's love for his son is only natural and not a sin. It was that spy who exploited your fatherly love for ulterior motives. He is the true culprit. Sumu declared loudly. Besides, to err is human. To acknowledge and correct one's mistake is the greatest virtue. Su Yubang's heart trembled. He had previously thought Sumu was arrogant and aggressive, expecting that after his own disgraceful secret was exposed, Sumu would mock him loudly. But to his surprise, Sumu not only refrained from ridicule, but also stopped his suicide attempt and offered words of comfort. Such magnanimity was truly the heart of a benevolent sage, and he realized he had been measuring a gentleman's heart with his own petty measure. Su Yubang was deeply moved, yet he still said, I trusted a treacherous villain and allowed spies to operate, betraying the nation. The shame in my heart is unbearable. Sumu said solemnly. The ancients said that shame leads to courage. For you, Minister Su, this is a profound disgrace. Precisely because of this, you must remember this shame and cleanse it. Only a coward would escape responsibility through suicide. A true warrior preserves his life to serve the nation and atone for his sins. Sumu's sincere gaze moved Su Yubang profoundly. You are absolutely right. Only cowards flee. I am a warrior. I will render service to the nation and wash away this shame. Su Yubang had clearly heeded Sumu's words and stopped weeping. Sumu smiled. That's good. I have long heard of your reputation as a valiant general. I believe with your abilities you will shine brilliantly against the aliens. Brother Su, you are a good man. I once thought you were an opportunist and looked down on you, but now I know you are a peerless talent with a magnanimous heart. Su Yubang declared earnestly, from this day forth you are my brother, the benefactor of the Su family. Whatever you need, just speak, and our family will do everything in our power. Su Yubang had given Sumu a direct promise. From then on, whenever Sumu needed it, Su Yubang and the Su family would be his most steadfast support. Then I thank you, elder brother, Sumu said, then whispered to Su Yobang. I might have a way to solve your wife's infertility and truly give you a son. Really? Su Yubang's voice quivered with excitement. He yearned for an heir so desperately that Matsuyama Taro had deceived him. If Sumu could grant him a son, it would be a debt of rebirth. We'll talk about it another time, Sumu said. Very well, Su Yubang replied, his heart filled with anticipation. Sumu could have ignored Su Yubang's suicide to vent his anger, but instead he saved him, offered kind advice, and hinted at helping with his infertility. all to cultivate ties with the Su family. This demonstrated Su Mu's emotional intelligence. The Su family, a lineage of generals for generations, produced heroes and had deep roots in the Qin kingdom. Had Su Mu let Su Yubang die, he would have offended the Su family. While they might not act openly, covert retaliation was certain. Though Su Mu was the state instructor, he came from humble origins with a weak foundation. Such powerful families were best not antagonized. By befriending the Su family, Su Mu gained the support of a prestigious clan, showcased his tolerance, and enhanced. This killed two birds with one stone. Why wouldn't Su Mu seize it? He also recalled who Su Yubang was, in the future codenamed Iron Azura, a formidable warrior on humanity's front lines. Such a crucial asset in humanity's fight against aliens was worth befriending early to prevent his suicide, a move with nothing but benefits. The onlookers were deeply shaken. The simple-minded believed Su Mu was a benevolent sage, showing mercy, possessing both profound skill and noble character. Those with political acumen recognized the brilliance of Su Mu's strategy, realizing that Su Yubang and the Su family would become his staunchest allies. In one move, Su Mu gained the backing of a powerful clan, a masterstroke that was both astonishing and admirable. Moments later, in the meeting room of the Western military base, on the large screen appeared the king and several cabinet ministers, convening a remote summit specifically for Su. In a short time, Su Mu had resolved resource shortages, demonstrated the mech's combat prowess, and exposed spies, repeatedly rendering great service to the nation. Such achievements could hardly escape the attention of the highest authorities. Su Qi just told me you are a peerless talent, and I fully agree with his assessment. You are the kingdom's greatest asset. How fortunate Qin is to have you. The king's gaze was filled with That's an exaggeration. I am a citizen of Qin and I love this kingdom. Serving it is my duty, Su Mu said humbly. Moreover, with the great calamity approaching, I am merely doing my best. The king said, I have seen the results of your deep-sea mining vessel. Its extraction capacity is remarkable and it yields refined metals. With this, the resource blockade imposed by other nations is broken. Su Mu smiled. This will provide ample raw materials for the mecha. An army of mecha is within reach. The king also smiled. I have seen the test report on your mecha. Excellent. With such an army, my confidence has. Su Mu said, but this is not enough. We have only 9 days left and time waits for no one. The king replied, you have already done more than enough. Don't bear all the pressure alone. Moreover, what surprised me most was your capture of the spy and your creation of the anti-espionage device. In recent days, due to our activities, foreign spies have grown increasingly brazen in their intrusions. Our intelligence departments have been overwhelmed and suffered losses. Now with your anti-espionage device, we can turn the tide and seize the initiative against those spies. You have rendered another great service to the nation. The king, endlessly appreciative of Su Mu's constant surprises, made everyone present regard Su Mu even more highly. This is all my duty. Su Mu remained humble and composed. Nevertheless, Qin rewards merit clearly. You have repeatedly performed outstanding deeds and must be rewarded. The king declared, there's no need. You appointed me as state instructor and trusted me completely. I am already deeply grateful, Su Mu replied. The king laughed. I know you care little for money. Any one of your technologies could fetch a fortune, yet you offer them to the nation freely. But the nation cannot shortchange you. Even if you need nothing, your family does. Then the king outlined the reward plan for Su Mu. In recognition of Su Mu's contributions, the nation would first award him 5 billion, which would be placed in a fund to ensure the material well-being of Su Mu and his family. Su Mu's parents would also receive state protection, residing in specially designated safe houses. With beautiful surroundings, advanced facilities, and pleasant scenery, they would surely be delighted. To ensure Su Mu had no lingering worries, the state took excellent care of his family, never stinting on material. 50 billion was an amount that Su Mu's family could never exhaust, no matter how lavishly they spent. Moreover, Su Mu understood this was merely a beginning. If he truly desired wealth, the state would fulfill his needs to the fullest. After all, Su Mu's contributions to the nation could not be measured by money alone. As for Su Mu himself, the sovereign cheerfully remarked that he would assign a personal assistant to handle his daily affairs, granting Su Mu ample time and energy to devote to that earth-shattering project. Su Mu was deeply moved, knowing the nation would not let him down. Qin never failed to reward its meritorious servants, and for a patriot like Su Mu, the state would forever be his staunchest support. Every achievement Su Mu made was duly recorded by the state. Thank you, he said. Now I truly have no lingering concerns. Su Mu declared, I can now devote all my energy to fighting for the salvation of Earth. The state's summit honoring his contributions resolved Su Mu's anxieties, freeing him from worrying about his family's safety. As long as Qin stood strong, Su Mu's family would remain safe. This alleviated a hidden burden in his heart. You have done so much for this nation, yet we have done so little for you. We feel somewhat ashamed, the sovereign remarked. Su Mu smiled and replied, all I wish for is peace under heaven and the survival of humanity. As for myself, I already have everything I need and seek nothing more. This declaration not only won the sovereign's admiration, but also that of the cabinet ministers. This young man possessed such noble character. They had learned from Su Qi about Su Mu's actions, how after exposing the spy he chose leniency instead of relentlessly pursuing Su Yubang. Such breadth of mind and magnanimity were beyond the reach of ordinary civilians fitting for the role of a national advisor. Their confidence and trust in Su Mu grew ever stronger. Qin was advancing rapidly on all fronts. Upon learning of the impending crisis, it notified other nations. Regardless of whether they believed, Qin raced against time. Time was of the essence. In just 9 days, an unprecedented catastrophe would befall humanity. Qin had to utilize these 9 days to mobilize the entire nation's resources to confront the crisis. This was undoubtedly a century-defining gamble. Victory would see Qin survive the crisis and even usher in a new era of development. A defeat would bring devastation and untold suffering. The nation's high-ranking officials were tense, daring not to slacken their efforts. Every department operated it. For instance, the anti-espionage device Su Mu provided had its blueprints immediately dispatched to relevant factories for mass production. After all, such a remarkable tool could not only thwart human spies, but also counter extraterrestrial threats. The more produced, the better. Those 500 anti-espionage devices were distributed to key departments and bases across the nation, beginning to play a crucial role. With Qin's extensive maneuvers over the past 2 days and its announcement of an impending alien invasion, other nations, though dismissive of the claim, were curious about Qin's true intentions. Many countries, particularly Zhao, suspected Qin of preparing for a world war or developing weapons of mass destruction. They spearheaded the propagation of the Qin threat theory, colluding with other nations to oppose Qin, yet Qin remained undeterred, leaving them bewildered. Perplexed, they resolved to uncover the truth by dispatching their most elite intelligence agents into Qin to infiltrate and probe the inner workings of its actions. This left departments like the Qin Security Bureau overwhelmed, struggling to cope with these top-tier spies. With the deployment of the anti-espionage devices, Qin's relevant departments knew their era of passive defense was over. Now was the time to take the initiative and turn the tide. The end had come for foreign spies. Tang Lianzi, Zhao's most formidable ace spy, was known as the real-life version of a top-secret agent. Since embarking on his missions, he had achieved unparalleled success, stealing countless secrets from other nations. What made him remarkable was his ability to escape unscathed every time. To this day, no one even knew his true appearance. Tang Lianzi was a master of disguise and bone-shrinking techniques, his face ever-changing and his stature constantly shifting between tall and short, lean and stout. His true features remained an enigma. He earned the moniker Thousand-Faced Fox. Even cinematic icons like 007 or James Bond paled in comparison to Tang Lianzi. Zhao, alarmed by Qin's massive undertaking, suspected a great secret within its borders and dispatched its most formidable spy, Tang Lianzi. Tang Lianzi killed a logistics staffer named Wang Gui at a Western military base, assumed his identity, and infiltrated the base to gather intelligence. Tang Lianzi prided himself on his cunning. He avoided replacing high-profile personnel whose identities were too sensitive and easily detected. A minor figure like Wang Gui, insignificant and easily overlooked, posed minimal risk for impersonation. However, this low-risk approach also meant slow intelligence gathering. Yet this suited Tang Lianzi's style, steadfast and patient, prioritizing stability over haste. Only those who laugh last are true victors. An exceptional spy takes no risks. Reducing and controlling risk, that is my creed, Tang Lianzi told himself. And typically Tang Lianzi was the one who laughed last. He believed this mission would be no different. He would not. One day after a shift at the Western military base, Tang Lianzi deliberately learned of a great secret, a superweapon factory near the base allegedly housing one of Qin's advanced weapons. Tang Lianzi resolved to infiltrate that super factory and obtain the weapons data. For now, however, he was about to clock out. Leaving required passing through a strict security checkpoint, but the guards and detection equipment posed no obstacle to Tang Lianzi. He relied on his photographic memory to store intelligence, ensuring maximum security. Today, however, Tang Lianzi noticed the guards using a strange searchlight to scan departing staff. Each scan emitted a green light, prompting the guards to let them pass. Yet another tedious new invention, utterly useless. Tang Lianzi held nothing but contempt for this peculiar searchlight. He refused to believe that he, a premier spy of his caliber, could possibly be undone by such a seemingly low-tech device. If he were to fail here, Tang Lianzi swore he would eat 3 caddies of excrement. Not as an empty boast. Thus Tang Lianzi puffed out his chest, strode boldly through the security gate, offered the guard a polite smile, and prepared to undergo the searchlight scrutiny. Suddenly the searchlight blazed with crimson light. Tang Lianzi's entire form was bathed in red. The searchlight promptly reported Spy King Tang Lianzi detected. Shall I compel him to speak the truth? Compel him. The guard commanded, his expression shifting. The truth-compelling function of this anti-espionage marvel was a form of control, using hypnosis to render the enemy helpless and force out the truth. Thus, the guard activated the truth-compelling function immediately to prevent Tang Lianzi from launching a yellow light enveloped Tang Lianzi, who involuntarily knelt and began confessing his crimes in detail. My name is Tang Lianzi, a citizen of Zhao, a professional spy codenamed the Thousand-Faced Fox. Meanwhile, agents from the security bureau arrived, surrounded Tang Lianzi, swiftly subdued him, and bound him securely. Poor Tang Lianzi, with all his remarkable skills and used, met such a miserable and inglorious end. Tang Lianzi recounted his shameful life in full, revealing everything that could and could not be said before finally emerging from the hypnotic state. Upon awakening, Tang Lianzi's expression was more bitter than if he had eaten filth. What was happening? Had this world encountered a glitch? He, Tang Lianzi, the revered king of spies, had inexplicably failed before a searchlight. Could this world not be a better place? Overwhelmed by fury and despair, Tang Lianzi sank into a melancholic stupor, consumed by sorrow. But the security bureau official gave him no time for wallowing, demanding sternly, "Tang Lianzi, who would have thought you'd fall into our hands like this? Truly, heaven has eyes. Do you remember sabotaging our project in the Southern Kingdom last year? A bunch of incompetents like you could never have caught me. I accept defeat and ask only to die with clarity," Tang Lianzi replied. "Tell me, what is that searchlight and how did it expose me?" The security official explained, "This is the anti-espionage marvel specially invented by our Grandmaster Jian to target the likes of you." He elaborated on the device's functions. Tang Lianzi's gaze dimmed. With such a tool, the era of espionage is over. Every spy will meet their downfall in Qin. Prepare to face your sentence. Can you give me 3 caddies of excrement? What? I want to eat it. Get lost. Don't think you can scam a free meal in Qin. Take him away. And so the illustrious king of spies, the thousand-faced fox Tang Lianzi, was ignominiously captured. On the same day, countless other premier spies met the same fate, falling victim to the device one after another. The spy king of Wei Klin was captured. The espionage goddess of Qi Caitlin was captured. The high-level spy of Fufing Ken Haidamai was captured. The SS-level spy of Luolovsky was captured. From Maple Leaf Country. In an instant, the premier spies embedded in Qin from various nations were all exposed simultaneously. These highly trained master spies often had no chance even to commit suicide, as the yellow light forced them to confess before they were taken into custody by Qin. Overnight, Qin became a hell for premier spies. One renowned spy after another met their downfall. With the premier spies captured, ordinary spies followed suit one by one, delivering themselves to justice. Foreign intelligence agencies were uncovered by Qin's relevant departments, raided, and wiped out completely. The intelligence networks that various nations had painstakingly built over years in Qin were uprooted almost overnight. After this campaign, it could be said that 90% of foreign spies in Qin had met their doom. Qin became a terra incognita for other nations who could no longer obtain information about it except through This massive operation by Qin shocked the world, even drawing the attention of international media. People were left astounded and incredulous. Zhao Post shocking. The largest espionage arrest in history. Does Qin have solid evidence, or is it deliberately framing foreign citizens? Wei Evening News. Qin arrests numerous spies suspected of dismantling foreign intelligence networks within its borders. Kyoto Television. Qin defies world opinion, arbitrarily arrests our citizens. Our foreign ministry has issued a strong condemnation. As the media reported, public opinion erupted. On foreign forums, all sorts of comments appeared. Qin, already under global scrutiny for its consecutive bold moves, was suspected of using the alien invasion claim as a pretext to launch a world war. Now, with this latest action, how could it not stir a massive uproar in public opinion? Foreign forums were in an uproar, with most voices questioning Qin. I think Qin has gone mad. They claim to have arrested at least 50 premier spies. How is that possible? No country has such capability. Those are premier spies, including the king of spies. Qin is clearly framing people. It's impossible to uncover so many spies at once, even if their entire population were Sherlock Holmes. First the conscription, then the big moves, the alien invasion story, and now this. It's all a smokescreen. Qin's true goal is world conquest. Foreign netizens simply refuse to believe that Qin could capture so many spies in a single night, accusing it of fabricating cases. Only the nations involved knew that Qin had not fabricated a single case. It was as if they were filling in blanks from an answer key with 100% accuracy. Striking from multiple fronts with precise targeting, they had swept the intelligence networks clean. This left the high officials of various nations deeply shocked, prompting urgent meetings. They sent envoys to condemn Qin, demanding to know on what grounds they had arrested their citizens. Clutching at straws, they hoped Qin lacked concrete evidence. Yet the Qin authorities directly presented irrefutable proof for their inspection. The more they examined, the darker their expressions grew for the evidence. Witnesses, physical proof, and confessions. was meticulous and beyond reproach. Such evidence would suffice for a conviction in any court. Qin will not wrong an innocent person nor let a guilty one escape, stated the Qin spokesperson. Faced with irrefutable evidence, the nations had no words to argue. They could not insist that those individuals were not spies. However, they also could not abandon these intelligence agents. Not to mention the chaos that would erupt if the families of these agents caused a stir. These agents themselves had undergone professional training and were all high in talents. If they were lost, the intelligence capabilities of these nations might regress by a decade. Most terrifying of all, these intelligence agents also possessed a vast amount of their own country's secrets. If they were not ransomed back in time, there was a risk of their nation's secrets leaking. Thus, even though these agents had failed and been exposed, the nations could not abandon them. After consulting and coordinating with each other, they decided to join forces and pressure the Qin state. They refused to believe that with so many nations united pressuring the Qin state could withstand it. The Qin state has unjustly arrested our citizens, violating their human rights. The Qin state must immediately release our citizens and provide compensation. And what if we don't? If you don't, we will jointly impose economic sanctions on the Qin state. You, the Qin state, faced with the Qin state, the nations issued blatant threats. In response, the sovereign of the Qin state specifically called Su Mu to seek his opinion. Do you think we should yield? Su Mu smiled faintly. Are we in the right on this matter? The sovereign said, of course we are in the right. Su Mu said, since we are in the right, we should be firm. As the saying goes, strike once to avoid 100 blows. If we back down, they will press their advantage. But if we don't back down, and they actually sanction us, what then? The sovereign asked, as if testing Su Mu. We must be firm yet flexible yet firm, combining both. How do we be firm yet flexible? We tell the nations that releasing some spies is possible, but they must stop their resource blockade on us. Otherwise, we will strictly investigate the spies and expose the secrets of all nations. Brilliant. The sovereign laughed heartily. Su Mu, you are a talent for governing the nation. You flatter me. In truth, the strategy Su Mu had thought of had already been considered by the higher-ups. The sovereign had asked Su Mu only to gauge his acumen in state affairs, because a thought had already formed in the sovereign's mind. He felt that Su Mu might be someone worthy of great responsibility, perhaps capable of taking on even more important tasks in the future. This inquiry left the sovereign very satisfied with Su Mu. Thus, the Qin state implemented Su Mu's strategy of firm, yet flexible, telling the nations that releasing some spies was acceptable, but the heinous top-tier spies would never be released. Moreover, for the release of spies, the nations must cease their resource embargo against the Qin state, using this as a condition to exchange for the release of spies. This was highly necessary. Although the deep-sea mining vessels provided by Su Mu temporarily met resource needs, importing more resources could further accelerate the production rate of mechs. No one ever has too many resources. And if the nations did not agree to this condition, the Qin state would remain adamant and expose the secrets of all nations. This combination of soft and hard tactics immediately split the opinions of the nations. Zhao state was the most intransigent, but Wei state was relatively weak. Wei state was the first to agree to stop its resource blockade against the Qin state, and was willing to sign an agreement in exchange for the release of most of its spies. The Qin state very scrupulously released the Wei state spies. Where there is a first, there will be a second, a third. Fufeng state, Chun state, Luo state, and other nations also signed agreements with the Qin state. The Qin state released spies, and they opened up resource exports. After seeing the other nations yield, the most intransigent Zhao state found itself isolated and could no longer maintain its hardline stance. Reluctantly, it too hastened to sign an agreement with the Qin state. Thus, the world's resource blockade against the Qin state was declared broken. The Qin state imported a massive amount of resources, and the output of mechs in its armories saw a significant increase. During the process of returning the spies to each nation out of curiosity, or perhaps ulterior motives, many nations asked the Qin state how it could so accurately and flawlessly capture the spies in one fell swoop. The Qin state spokesperson smiled faintly and said, "Our country has invented a machine that can detect spies with 100% accuracy. To avoid future losses, it would be best not to send any more spies to our country." Among the representatives of the nations, some were utterly disbelieving, some were lost in thought, and some sneered coldly. Later, when the Qin state spokesperson brought up the prophecy of alien invasion, it was also dismissed as a joke by the nations. However, later on, a defiant nation sent spies into the Qin state, but as soon as they crossed the border, they were discovered and apprehended. Only then did the nations realize that the Qin state spokesperson had spoken the truth. Spies had no place to survive in the Qin state. But that is a story for later. Within the Western Continent military base, Su Mu was discussing the combat modes of the mecha army with Tang Shan. Tang Shan was utterly obsessed with mechs to the point of infatuation. He believed that in the future, every member of the Dragon Group should be equipped with a mecha. In that case, the Dragon Group would be formidable beyond measure. Sumu did not mock Tangshan for his wild fantasy. Instead, he told Tangshan that as long as production was sufficient, equipping every dragon group member with a mecha was not a problem. As the two were talking, Suchi walked in. Suchi was beaming with joy and said to Sumu, "Old Su, if you don't want your wife, but you do want a wife, just say the word, and he'll send one over for you." Sumu rolled his eyes. "My dear director, what madness has possessed you?" Suchi said, "I'm not mad, I'm telling the truth." Sumu asked, "What's going on?" Suchi laughed. "Sumu, the nation is giving you a wife." "Are you joking?" Sumu complained. "Does our country have a policy of handing out wives?" Suchi said, "Originally it didn't, but for you it does." Sumu said in surprise, "Stop joking. Be serious. What's happening?" Suchi then said solemnly, "Didn't the sovereign previously mention finding you a personal assistant to take care of your life? You are a national treasure of our Qin state, a human panda. We can't have you doing everything yourself. Is the personal assistant a woman?" Sumu caught the implication immediately. "Not only is she a woman, but she's also a beautiful woman," Suchi said. "How beautiful exactly?" Sumu asked curiously. "She's breathtakingly beautiful." Suchi exaggerated. "The young lady is already outside undergoing checks, and will be in shortly. When you see her, I reckon your eyes will be glued to her. Is it that exaggerated? You'll see when you meet her." Thus Sumu began to look forward to the breathtakingly beautiful woman. Having a beautiful woman as his personal assistant seemed like a good thing to contemplate. In both his past and present lives, Sumu had hardly ever been in a romantic relationship, let alone had any intimate encounters with beautiful women. It wasn't that he was wooden in matters of the heart, as his name might suggest, but rather that the right opportunity had never presented itself. In his previous life at this stage, Sumu had just graduated from university and was consumed by entrepreneurial thoughts, leaving no room for romance. Later, when aliens invaded Earth, humanity faced existential peril every day, and the harshness of survival overshadowed everything else. Talk of love and romance became even more inappropriate. This time, with the state assigning him a wife, or rather an assistant, Sumu allowed himself a glimmer of fantasy, for deep down everyone harbors some hope for love. It wasn't that Sumu harbored ill intentions toward the young woman, or rather it's only natural for a man to anticipate something with a beautiful woman. This is simply human nature. If the young woman and Sumu were truly compatible, a relationship beyond mere friendship might blossom. If not, maintaining a good rapport with his assistant would still be appropriate. Moments later, the state-assigned life assistant finally arrived in Sumu's room, having passed through layers of rigorous checks and strict scrutiny. Her graceful silhouette immediately captivated every man present. She had a delicate oval face, gem-like crystalline eyes, and long curled lashes as adorable as a Barbie doll's. A small nose complemented her lovely mouth, and a playful ponytail was casually tied back, exuding an air of ease and relaxation. Her devilish figure further accentuated her charm. But Sumu was not only astonished by the bowtie's appearance, he was also startled by her identity, for he recognized her. And she too clearly recognized him. "What, it's you?" the beauty exclaimed in surprise upon seeing Sumu. "It's actually you." Sumu was equally taken aback. The two stared at each other at a loss for words. It turned out this beauty was Sumu's high school classmate and the class academic monitor named Yin Xiaoying. Originally, Yin Xiaoying's appearance was unremarkable, plain and ordinary, and her studies were only slightly above average. But by her sophomore year, she seemed to undergo a dramatic transformation, growing more radiant with each passing day. Within a month, she became appetizingly beautiful. In 3 months, the class beauty. In half a year, the school belle. And after a year, her fame spread across the entire city. Her academic performance soared as well, and in her senior year, she jumped directly into the advanced class, parting ways with ordinary students like Sumu. Later, Yin Xiaoying became the top scorer in the college entrance exams, gaining admission to Qin Kingdom's best university, Qingbei University. Subsequently, she pursued further studies abroad, and after that, Sumu heard no more news of her. Who would have thought that all this was merely the beginning of Yin Xiaoying's legendary life? In the future, when aliens invaded Earth, human civilization would be plunged into catastrophe, suffering immense losses, but it would also bring some opportunities. Besides enabling humanity to greatly advance technology through reverse engineering, it also unlocked the potential of the human body, awakening supernatural abilities. In the future, Yin Xiaoying, having tragically lost both parents, would awaken an ice-based ability and ultimately rise to become one of the top 10 war gods of Qin Kingdom. She was the 7th-ranked Empress of Ice and Snow. Her signature move, the Ice Age, wielded boundless power capable of freezing an entire city. By then, Yin Xiaoying was a lofty figure, a pillar of human civilization. Although she and Sumu were classmates, she existed on a level beyond his reach. Unexpectedly this time, Yin Xiaoying had been selected by the state's high echelons to become Sumu's life assistant. Truly, fate is unpredictable. Even before Yin Xiaoying was a goddess beyond Sumu's wildest dreams, who would have thought she would become his assistant? Sumu couldn't help but be filled with a myriad of emotions. Yin Xiaoying too was deeply shocked. She also recognized Sumu. It wasn't that Sumu had left a deep impression on her, rather after an injury in her sophomore year her beauty skyrocketed, and she gained a photographic memory. Yin Xiaoying remembered even people she had met only once with perfect clarity, let alone Sumu with whom she had studied for 3 years. It would be strange if Yin Xiaoying didn't remember Sumu. And precisely because she remembered him, she was astonished. After becoming a top student, Yin Xiaoying studied abroad for 2 years, then returned to Qin Kingdom to work in a key state department. Her parents and family had served the nation for generations, and she naturally continued the family tradition of serving the country. Yin Xiaoying was working fine, but then her superior mysteriously approached her and said there was a more important task. When she asked what it was, the superior told her to take care of someone's daily life and serve as their life assistant. After a 3-second pause, Yin Xiaoying said that as a top scholar, being a life assistant seemed like a waste of. The superior laughed and said that if it were anyone else it would indeed be overqualified, but taking care of that person would be a service to the nation. Curious, Yin Xiaoying asked who that person was. The superior replied that he was a national treasure whose value to the country surpassed 10 years of Qin Kingdom's GDP and millions of troops. Yin Xiaoying doubted such a person existed, but the superior said she would know when she met him. If he wasn't a national treasure, she could resign at any time. Finally, the superior couldn't help but reveal an even more astonishing piece of information. Choosing you as that person's life assistant was the joint decision of the monarch and several elder counselors. Yin Xiaoying was somewhat intimidated, wondering what kind of great figure required the state's top brass to arrange for their daily care. Subsequently, Yin Xiaoying entered a review phase, repeatedly inquiring about her service target, but to no avail. She only knew that the person had a top-level security clearance of level 10. In Qin Kingdom, only key figures in sensitive departments could access level 10 classified information. Nevertheless, Yin Xiaoying did glean that a series of recent major moves by Qin Kingdom were orchestrated by that very person. At the time, she fantasized that someone who could influence national decisions with such earth-shattering means must possess extraordinary talent and state-stabilizing wisdom. A remarkable man, a true hero. Yin Xiaoying even felt a sense of anticipation. Now, seeing that the person in question was none other than her high school classmate Sumu, it was no wonder she was shocked. She tried to recall Sumu's past image, remembering only that he was an ordinary youth who studied diligently and had spoken fewer than 50 words to her, nothing more. After leaving the regular class, she and Sumu were already in different worlds, and Yin Xiaoying never imagined she would ever see him again. Unexpectedly, Sumu turned out to be the extraordinary man with unparalleled talent and the ability to stabilize the nation, influencing the decisions of the Qin state. Recalling Sumu's ordinary performance in high school, Yin Xiaoying found it increasingly bizarre, struggling to reconcile the Sumu before her with the one from the past. It felt like Spider-Man, while performing heroic deeds, suddenly discovered that his chubby sidekick was not actually a sidekick, but the Sorcerer Supreme. Yin Xiaoying sighed inwardly, only able to marvel that people should be regarded with new eyes after a short separation. She herself had grown rapidly, and others could also make a stunning comeback. Sumu and Yin Xiaoying, each lost in their own thoughts, stared at each other for a long time. To outsiders it seemed like love at first sight, with sparks of romance instantly igniting between them. It seemed that the two were now deeply immersed in the river of love, unable to extricate themselves. Seeing this, Su Qi thought to himself that Sumu and Yin Xiaoying had potential, and he felt a surge of joy. The notion of the state assigning a wife to Sumu was a joke, but the state's willingness to find a suitable match for him was indeed one of the current policies of the Qin state. Sumu's value was too great, so it was necessary to ensure his overall physical and mental health. For a man, having a virtuous wife and good companion could enhance his happiness. With higher happiness, one's mindset naturally improves. With a good mindset, the body becomes healthy. Sumu's physical health was crucial to the future development of the Qin state, so the state naturally hoped he would have a happy family. Moreover, finding a good match for Sumu was also about adding bonds to him. In this world, only with more bonds can one have love in the heart. With love in the heart, one is less likely to turn dark. The state had realized Sumu's boundless potential, and to prevent any tendency to turn dark in the future, creating bonds for him was one of the measures. Su Qi was the executor of this task. For him, the dignified director of the Security Bureau had become Sumu's matchmaker. Fortunately, Su Qi seemed to enjoy playing the role of matchmaker. Wonderful, wonderful. It seems you two know each other. Seeing the pair still staring blankly, Su Qi felt obliged to break the awkwardness and start a conversation. Of course we know each other. Yin Xiaoying was the first to react. This classmate Sumu is my high school classmate. I suppose he is the one I'm supposed to serve this time. It's him. Su Qi laughed. It takes 100 years of cultivation to share a boat, 1,000 years to share a pillow. Fated ones come together from 1,000 miles away. Those without fate miss each other, even face to face. You two have a great fate. Yan Xiaoying blushed for some reason. Su Kai's words were too suggestive. Su Mu coughed and glared at Su Qi, thinking, you are a high-ranking official. Why are you so off-key in your speech? Classmate Yan Xiaoying, I never expected to see you here. You were the top student in our class, and I always looked up to you as my idol during school. Su Mu said politely. Yan Xiaoying modestly replied, that's nothing. It's you who are contributing to the country now, and that's what I should learn from. The two exchanged pleasantries, but both felt awkward and didn't know what to say. Su Qi timely demonstrated his wingman style, saying, Su Mu is pressed for time now. Please take care of his daily affairs, Miss Yan. I will do my utmost to complete any task assigned by the state, Yan Xiaoying said with a gentle smile. I am now Su Mu's life assistant. If you need anything, just let me know. This sentence invited endless speculation, but Su Mu knew the seriousness of the matter and said earnestly, then let's work together happily from now on, classmate Yan. Just after Su Mu finished speaking, ding dong. Option 1, become Yan Xiaoying's opposite-sex best friend and become the king of best friends. Option 2, become Yan Xiaoying's boyfriend and become Yan Xiaoying's knight. Su Mu was startled. This damn system, why is it messing around at a time like this? Can't it be serious? You are a system meant to save the world, how can you have such weird options? Su Mu complained inwardly, but he also noticed the pattern of the system's activation. So far the system only triggers under two circumstances. First, when Su Mu's fate takes a turning point, the system activates. Second, when Su Mu encounters an important person present or future, the system also activates. Yan Xiaoying may not be much now, but in the future, she will be one of the 10 war gods of the Qin state, the renowned Ice Queen, an important figure. It was normal for the system to trigger because of her. However, the options were truly difficult. Fortunately, Su Mu was not a person who dilly-dallied. After silently making his choice, he showed a gentle smile to Yan Xiaoying. Ding. Option goal not achieved. Upon achievement, full reward will be issued. Ding. Preliminary reward, 10 doses of pain potion already credited. Please check your inventory. Hearing this news, Su Mu's smile grew even brighter. 10 doses of pain potion. After the aliens came to Earth, their fleet altered the core physical laws of the planet, allowing the potential of Earthlings to be unleashed. Thus, under intense stimulation and extreme pain, Earthlings could awaken superpowers, but such individuals were 1 in 10,000. Later, scientists invented the pain potion, which increased the chance of awakening superpowers by 30%. The side effect of the pain potion was already evident in its name, extreme pain. Now that Su Mu had 10 doses of pain potion, even if he couldn't train 10 superpowered individuals, cultivating 3 or 4 should be possible. In the early stage of the alien invasion, 3 or 4 superpowered individuals could play a significant role. Meanwhile, Yan Xiaoying, seeing Su Mu smile at her, initially smiled back. But soon she noticed that Su Mu's smile lingered a bit too long and gradually turned somewhat perverted. Could Su Mu be a pervert? Yan Xiaoying's heart tightened. Fortunately, at that moment, Su Mu came to his senses and said to Yan Xiaoying, classmate, Yan, how old are you this year? Asking a girl's age so bluntly was indeed impolite, but Yan Xiaoying was not an ordinary girl and didn't mind. 22, Yan Xiaoying replied. I'm 23, Su Mu said. Older than you, right? Oh. We keep calling each other classmate, which is not intimate enough. How about this'll call you Ing Mei and you call me Mu Gu? Su Mu suggested. Yan Xiaoying looked at him with a very strange expression. Su Mu got goosebumps from her gaze and even regretted his proposal. All right, Mu Gu. Yan Xiaoying finally accepted Su Mu's suggestion. Su Mu breathed a sigh of relief. Ing Mei, welcome to my team. Yan Xiaoying said, what is my first task now? Do you want some tea? I've learned tea art. No. Su Mu shook his head. We're going out. Yan Xiaoying asked, where to? Su Mu replied, to pick up my parents. I won't feel at ease unless I explain.